The Indie Council is in session. Welcome, everyone. This is a place for the leading voices from across the industry to gather and talk news, titles, and everything indies. I'm your master of ceremonies, Jill Grote, the Indie Informer, and today, joining the council, we have the World Cup is her oyster, Janet Garcia.
Hello.
I like that it looks like you're sort of dressed for the occasion as well.
Yeah,
Just
this is the
subtle.
one of the Mexico jerseys
Yeah.
actually.
You told me to root for them, and I've been doing it. So hopefully
Nice.
that's been helping.
It's been really paying off. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad that I could use my powers for good. And also, yes, hers is the voice you heard in the big showcase, Jenny Wyndham.
Hello. Excited for our monthly indie games talk.
Oh, it's going to be so good. We've got so much to talk about with this monthly rundown, y'all, because everything happened in June. We're going to talk more about what I just mentioned with Jenny as well. But before we get to that, let's talk Summer Game Fest. Let's just break it all down. Just like our bodies were broken at the end of it. We have so many showcases to talk about. I don't know. I think I'm just gonna go for my big hits from each of them. I don't know if y'all want to say anything, you can jump in, but I also have a kind of more in-depth and personal thing to talk about for one of them. So, showcases. Wholesome Direct, of course, top of the list. Best host of all the showcases. We got the Fields of Mysteria 1.0 release, and that's going to be August 5th. Jenny, did you have to hold on to that secret for so long? You're talking with us.
It felt like so long. Oh my gosh. It's
in the back of your head, you're like, please don't tell anyone.
Yeah, well, and the whole maybe 2 months ahead of time once we have the announcements and we're starting to make the show and everything, it is so hard. I don't want to talk about anything because I'm like, what if people take this as a hint? What if they take me not talking about it as a hint? It's not that serious, but also I'm like, I want to make sure I don't mess up the surprise for fun for the developers and the people watching. So Fields is really exciting because that's one that's already so hotly anticipated by so many people. And knowing Fields of Mystria's roadmap, anyone could have guessed, okay, we got to be at a 1.0 launch. And so everyone is the worst, best kept secret, in the showcase, I think, in the sense that if you knew they were participating, you were pretty sure you knew what was going to happen. And it was great to see everyone was so excited to see the announcement because there was a part of me worried that they wouldn't be excited. And they'd be like, okay, well, we guessed it. Wahoo. Mm-hmm. And that would be it. But it was just such a great moment of people having the hype for something and then having that hype be rewarded that I just felt was great. It felt really rewarding as a showcase organizer.
Oh, I think that trailer was really good at also mitigating any sort of oh, we already knew that the announcement, because it wasn't just the date announcement. We got a couple of things, we saw Juniper with a baby. We're like, what's going on there? Yeah. New kiosk set up next to the forge. What the heck is going on with that character? So you got a new mount. I can't remember what it was, but it was a weird new mount. It was I want to say dinosaur, but that's not right. A turtle, something
Wasn't
green.
A big chicken? Oh no, you're thinking of the other
it might have
one.
been a chicken. It might have been a chicken.
The old smelts.
But no, it definitely was a chicken. Now that I'm thinking about it, I literally have a picture of it on my cover picture for the news. It was definitely a chicken. So I don't know why I thought it was green, but that was an amazing moment. Great thing, because I also saw the showcase ahead of time. Thank goodness, because so much of Summer Game Fest is oh no, we don't have time for things. So then I had to keep the secret, so I know that was hard, and I just had to keep it for a few days. Another game that I really want to shout out from Wholesome is Dressmaker, which was so it was very early in the showcase, and I'm super excited about this, and it became a nexus for me of a very personal topic that was also sort of kicked off by Janet Garcia on social media, talking about after Summer Game Fest how few women there really are in these spaces, how often you go into a hands-on demo or a meeting or an appointment of some kind, and there can be no women in the room. You can go most of the day without seeing another woman. And I hadn't really thought about it, because when you've been in this space for a long time, it's kind of the like status quo of like, okay, this is fine, I don't think about it anymore. But Janet, your post really made me think about the fact, not just that there aren't a lot of women in our space, but how I have sort of internalized that to some degree, and how that's changed sort of my behavior. So one of the games that I was most excited about from Wholesome, besides of course the Fields of Mystery News, is Dressmaker. And it's one of those like so nostalgic. My childhood self would have been so excited to see this game. Exactly the sort of thing that me and my sisters all would have been huddled around our like 1990s computer, like making different things and sabotage or helping people with their dreams and what they're doing with the clothes. My family has a deep love of clothes making and fabric art of various kinds. So it occurred to me that I had not, during the entire week essentially of Summer Game Fest, talked about Dressmaker. Even though I was excited for it in a way that I was excited for every other game that I had talked about. And I wondered why that was and why I was stopping myself, because I know that I hang around the kind of people who would have loved to hear me passionately talk about something that I was passionate about, even Dressmaker, even if they weren't interested in it. So I wrote an article you can check out on theindianformer.com about sort of my thoughts and feelings going through this game as a sort of smaller ecosystem of what the gaming sphere has been like for me and how I act within it, and how femininity is sort of felt for me and for just the larger society in gaming. But I don't know if y'all have any thoughts, if you want to dive into that topic or not, but I was very interested in touching on it.
Anecdotally, I just wanted to share that you weren't the only one that Dressmaker really resonated with. Like, I think, at least on Instagram, I'm sure on the other platforms as well, the trailer performed like exponentially better than, like, we thought it was a great game, obviously, because we put it in the show, but it performed exponentially compared to a lot of the other games in the show. And I think it's because it taps on to this desire that a lot of us have, and like the game that we all kind of remember, or that we would have wanted. But it just reminds me how underestimated some audiences are in the gaming industry, and how so much of publishing and curation is you have to have people in the room who care about the same topics that you do, or the same game mechanics and the same themes. And it's really exciting to be a part of a team that is sort of trying to push that forward in some kind of way, where like in the room, in a lot of rooms I've been in publishing specifically, there have been people who are like, I don't get it. What's the power fantasy here? What's the thing that you're capturing? And I'm like, you don't understand. Like, this is fun. Maybe if it's not fun to you, that's okay. But it is fun to someone, and we have to recognize when our industry has like untapped audiences like that. So,
yeah, we talked about this a good amount on Pew Pew Bang a few episodes ago. We just wrapped season 3, which is like it. For those that know, it's an all-women podcast that I do with the women that are at MinMax. And like the theme is, it's a video game podcast that feels like a slumber party. So it's like general topics, but then like life advice, and we're kind of trying to like exude some of that energy in doing that show, but also just making it like whatever we're interested in, and kind of like tapping into both. Where it's like there's so many things at play, right? Where it's the idea of the quote unquote girl game versus the idea of like women enjoying games, and what that means, and how that can and cannot encompass the kind of girl game genre. But one thing that we had covered specifically was fashion games. And like there was a big conversation around why don't we see any like fashion game? And even like I forget if Dressmaker, like there was another type of game similar to Dressmaker that's coming out soon. I forget what it's called, or if it's technically indie or not. But it's like, why don't we see more of these titles? And I think it is the untapped market. It's also the like potential cost is something that my colleague there, Sarah Pozorski, brought up, who's also working on Phil's Mystery. Shout out to her for her work on socials and marketing there. But talking about like the assets, the more assets there are in a game, the more expensive the game is. And fashion, it's like you need to make it good. Usually, you kind of need a lot of assets. So there's just like so many things at play for why we don't see these games. But as far as like how does it, I guess, kind of relate to the work that we do, one thing that I like to think about is like every game kind of being worthy of analysis. I feel like there are times when it's not like someone's genre, whether it's a game like Dressmaker or a walking sim or, you know, those are usually the biggest suspects. I mean, it has like games that have interactivity that isn't as top of mind for like the general player or even like the general critic in a way. And like trying to push back on that both externally and internally and think about like, how is a game where you only walk more trivial than a game where I only jump and collect coins? Is that not the same kind of level of like kind of base interactivity? Like it's, you know, I think there are games that have like low interactivity options, but because they're mechanics that we're more familiar with, we like give them more grace, where it's like, oh, no one would say like, this is dumb, you just jump, because we kind of have more respect for like the platformer as a genre, while like something like Dressmaker, it's like, oh, I don't know, it's a sim, I don't get like what's here. It's like, well, there's so many things to like that sim genre on like analyzing like what kind of assets are available, how does this stuff function, is there like physics in the fabric, is there like there's so much to discuss on a lot of these games that I feel like people sort of half like decide they're not interested in and half decide that there's like not much to talk about there, where it's like, well, what would those conversations even be? And I think there are you know, listeners, readers, and even critics who struggle to wrap their head around what could be like the analysis proposition there. So yeah, Dressmaker looks cool. It's the power fantasy of owning a sewing machine without having to maintain it. That's the
and the game loop of like getting rewarded for the things that you make for other people by emotional connection as well, which is something that you don't get in a ton of games, is that kind of emotional connection. And I think also it's very funny that you mention like how genres or different types of games, like we see that in like a lot of sports games get this a lot of times, where there's not a lot of people to talk about it in a sort of like, I was thinking about it as like the Oscars, where like comedy movies don't get best like movie because for some reason it's deemed as not a worthy of it. And I'm like, why is
it's like
that?
Not artsy. It's like, who gets to be artsy, you know?
Yeah, we have that version of that in gamings, but it can happen with any genre. Because while you were talking, I was thinking about Memories in Orbit. There was a very funny critical take on it where it was like, hey, I don't like Metroidvanias, and this is a Metroidvania, and therefore it's a bad game. And I was like, that is such a bizarre take for a game. So like it really happens everywhere in the space. It just so happens that a lot of times Dressmaker is in that category of like, comedy isn't the kind of game that gets talked about as what was the best game and show, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, go check out Dressmaker, go check out Pew Pew Bang, go support women in this space. It means a lot to us. Speaking of women in the space, let's talk about Women-Led Games Showcase. This was, again, all the links down below. Go check it out. But such a great showcase. I want to specifically shout out every Wednesday. It is beautiful, like 2.5 anime AF looking kind of game where it's just, you go every Wednesday to a laundromat, and you spark up a relationship with the people that are there. It looks amazing. I'm very excited for it. Also very excited for Horses of Hoof Print Bay,
Yeah.
which I have played a long demo of this. It was like over an hour and I had to stop and I wasn't done with everything. Comes from our friends over at themainquest.com. Go check them out. They're publishing the game, I believe. And this is just such a fun experience where you are going into a new space where you're creating this new kind of horse ranch and building it step by step, and you have to take care of the one horse at the beginning that you have. So and training the horse is important, making sure that it's set and ready to go, but also upgrading all of your area so that you can attract more people so you can get more money. It's a really interesting, really fun game loop, and I've enjoyed it very, very much so far. So I'm keeping an eye on that. Of the rest of the showcases, I'm going to try to go fairly quickly through. I think one of my really high up there, I haven't really stopped to think about which were my favorite showcases. Obviously, Wholesome is at the top. But the Latin American Game Showcase was exquisite this year. If you watch none of the rest of these, please go watch the Latin American Game Showcase. It was so, production value wise, amazing. I loved the pacing was fantastic, and all of the games were just hitting so well. I'm going to talk about a couple of the games from that showcase down below as we talk later about Steam Next Fest. But also, Day of the Devs. We're going to talk about that on Hands On. The mix, there were, again, hands-on elements, but I want to shout out things that weren't there that I wanted to check out. And that's Husk Protocol and Echograph. Husk Protocol is a kind of deck building roguelike, but you are in a giant mech. It is very cool looking. And then Echograph is like indie Fatal Frame. That's really all I needed. I love Fatal Frame, the original, and I'm excited to go check that out. Southeast Asian Games showed us a little bit more of Prove You're Human. That's huge on everybody's list right now. The Pride Parade showed us a little more of Riz Dungeon, which is coming out. I think it has a release date. Let me double check on that. Riz Dungeon Skeleton Key to My Heart is coming out September 17th. And then Frosty Game Fest, Wild and Chill. I am so excited for this game. If you don't know, this is from the developers that made Cast and Chill, which is the kind of like you can just have the fishing in the background on your computer as you do other things. I think Wild and Chill is a much more active experience. You have to be playing it. It can be played with other people, and you're just in the wilderness crafting, foraging, existing, hunting, making sure everything's going well with your cabin and checking in on people. And it's just supposed to be this very lovely, you are in the woods tree bathing sort of experience, which I am super excited to check out. We, of course, got a few indies at the main Summer Game Fest showcase. We can talk about those, I think, for like hands-on stuff, but not a huge amount. I would have loved to see more big indie stuff. Of course, we got the Cuphead 2 announcement, which is going to be huge, and a little bit of Among Us action there. And for some reason, extremely hard game. What was it?
Yeah,
Extremely difficult?
Extremely difficult game, which does have a demo that I'm hoping to try out because that was one of my highlights of SGF. But yeah, very random feeling
Yeah.
in the sense that you're like, okay, Jeff saw this somewhere and it like hooked him enough that he probably just asked the dev to participate is my guess.
It's like I loved it, and I want to see more of that in the main showcase. I would also love, and I know we've talked about this, behind the scenes, I guess is not the right word, but having the Day of the Dev showcase right after the Summer Games Fest showcase, it would be lovely to have Day of the Devs just roll in after the showcase for people who are sitting and watching in the theater like we were. Um, and I would have sat there and watched Day of the Devs and had a great time with everyone. But, that is something we hope to see in the future. Any other thoughts on showcases from anybody?
From me, I think it's interesting because we've talked before about, SGF proper, and wanting Jeff to like highlight indies. And I think what's become really apparent and solidified with this SGF as a whole is Jeff saying like SGF, the show, is definitely the AAA big budget place with, the select indies that are kind of the big budget indies, like Among Us, they've got money,
Yeah.
like they're indie plus at this point. And I think with the way that he is integrating and uplifting and talking about all of the other shows, like I can say from Wholesome Direct and, Women Led Games, Lags, all of the other showcases, he is definitely leaning on our sort of the indie showcases to be the indie points of SGF. And I think that that is like, it has become most apparent to me that that is the formula that he's really depending on, so that he doesn't have to necessarily worry about any indie curation other than what really strikes his fancy, because all of the indie showcases are going to be covering that. And so, for better, for better or worse, I think it's nice because Jeff's audience isn't an indie audience, and so it really helps set stronger expectations overall for what you're going to see and where. But yeah, that's really the only thought I had this year in particular.
I think that's so true because I can't remember if it was, well, I'm sure that it happened for 6-1 Indie Showcase, but I can't remember if it was Thinky's showcase, but, or the mix. There was a showcase just before sort of the start of everything where I kept seeing people be like, where's like the real games, essentially, because they're aware of it via Summer Game Fest. So I think you're right to say there is a difference of audience expectation, and maybe this is a great way to do it. I would love to see a little more representation, a little more holding up, instead of just like, here's a link to it on the website if you go to the website.
For sure.
But no, you're so right. I do like to have an indie specific space to have those expectations set so we don't get all of the comments, more than already exist, of like people who haven't played indie games. Also, I want to shout out very quickly, Vivarium, Jenny.
Yeah.
I was watching this and I was so like, I was like, that sounds like Jenny's voice in Vivarium. But then the character was named Jenny, and I gaslit myself so hard into being like, no, I'm only thinking that because it's the character's name Jenny, so I'm thinking about Jenny. But no, that was your voice, yeah?
Yeah, in the trailer, they it was so nice because so Vivarium was announced at Wholesome Snack a couple years ago, or revealed, and they enjoyed the VO that I did for the direct or the snack so much that they reached out later and said, "Hey, we have this trailer coming up. Your VO for that trailer was so good. Would you be interested and available to do this?" And I was like, absolutely, because I've been looking forward to this game so much. So yeah, that was really, really cool to have them reach out and to hear my voice in not a wholesome showcase. So that was very fun. Yeah, shout out to Mike and the team. Wonderful, wonderful people.
We need to get Jenny hosting like every showcase. She's just like, and we're back for everything. The Everything Indie Showcase.
The takeover begins now, yes.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, that's super cool. Was this your first time doing like VO work that's outside of the stuff you already described, kind of thing?
Yeah, this is the first time outside of like, Wholesome, which is a bit de facto because like I helped start it. And then like content creation, so that was really cool.
First time, but not the last time, people. Come
Fingers
on.
crossed. Yeah.
Reach out. So, of course, after all the showcase madness, we head into Play Days, which is going to be our big hands-on opportunities, but also the mix and various other appointments thrown in there. Y'all seem to have some similar feelings about the Day of the Devs section for Playdays. Tell me about it. What were your thoughts? What games were you uppermost in your brain?
I mean, I wrote in the show notes that the Day of the Devs stole the show for me. Like, that was the highlight of Playdays by far. There's some really good appointments otherwise outside of the Day of the Devs section. And for folks who don't know, Playdays, like Jill said, is the hands-on opportunity that we get. It's invite only, so it's a curated group of people over a span of 3 days trying out as many demos as they can, based on like what's been announced at the recent showcases. And so there was a Day of the Devs section. Like Capcom had their own section. Like every publisher or console sort of has their own section where they'll bring experiences. And yeah, Day of the Devs overall, and we'll go into more detail, but I think every game I played at Day of the Devs honestly stood out to me positively. And it was wild when I was going through. I'm working on a vlog right now to cover the event a bit more closely, and looking at my notes, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to make sure to talk about other experiences and other games, because it really was like the quality of the games. Honestly, shout out to the PR team there, because the efficiency of them getting you to try all of the demos, so good. So
yeah, I want to talk a little bit about that, because a lot of people don't know how Playdays works. They've never been to one. Jenny was joining us, I think, for the first time.
Yeah.
And that was very exciting and fun. I want to get your opinion on how that worked, because Day of the Devs did something very interesting where they had rapid fire demo trying. So you would sit on a couch, play one demo, someone would come around, one of the lovely PR organizers, we appreciate y'all so much, would come by, tap you on the shoulder, say, you're done, time to go to the next game. And it was this big, wild sort of like musical chairs of indie demo situations. This can be a bit difficult if time has shifted a bit. Like, I think my shift of this was 2 minutes late, and so I got a couple of games where I was cut off kind of mid game. So I can't imagine keeping all of that straight. But yeah, like you said, it really was sit down and play this game that you are gonna have, so you will want to play so much longer than you are currently playing.
Which
Jan,
is like the
how
way
did
you
feel
want it
about that?
to be too, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
that's an ideal circumstance. Like, I at least thinking from like a PR standpoint, the thought of like, oh man, like I kind of wish I had, like, you want to low key wish you had more, but not need to have had more. And I agree, Jenny. I think it's the first time I've seen the appointments done quite like that. Like, usually they are still like time. You know, there's obviously like a lot of slots at Playdays, for those who don't know, tend to be 30 minutes, an hour, or 90 minutes. That tends to be like their range. Unsurprisingly, the 90 minutes are usually for like super prestige AAA titles. Like my Control appointment was 90 minutes. I only had an hour for it because most of the appointments are like an hour, you know. And then depending on, most things are hands-on. You'll get sometimes hands-off for like AAA, but like all the indie stuff is pretty much always hands-on. I'm trying to think if I ever have any hands-off. If I have had hands-off, it's off-site usually. It's like, hey, can I show you my game on my laptop? Kind of vibe. And that might be hands-off.
It depends on what you want to call indie here, and we're going to have a lot of discussions about that particular question throughout a lot of these demos. So like Annapurna, an indie publisher, had Lost in Wilds, I believe is the name. It's the dinosaur game.
The dinosaur one,
yeah.
So that was hands-off.
Yes.
But it depends on if you count that as indie or not.
I guess I do.
I guess I do.
Is the
I didn't include that, but
is the studio owned by anybody? That's my thing. Is the studio?
I don't think it is. I think it's just Annapurna.
Go on ahead. Yes, so that you're right. Rare,
The rare
hands off,
occasion. And then,
but prestige. You know,
Yeah.
you have like a theater setup and all of that.
and
but-
we had it was so fun, that setup. But we also had for 90 minutes the Switch 2 area, which had a lot of indies in it. But that was much more hands off. Y'all slot in there, and I wanna say very particularly one thing from the Switch 2. I know Janet immediately got fear in her eyes, but I double checked. I know I can say this, that I did play Orbitals at Switch 2, and I am excited to tell y'all about it later.
Yay! I have nothing to say, or I do not have any documents in front of me.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
because
I agree with the Day of the Devs rapid fire. Like, you just don't need that much time with like with games. I feel like you either need, 5-10 minutes or like an hour plus. Like, there's not a lot of additional information garnered in that space. There obviously are some exceptions, like the farming sim is very hard to demo quickly. Like, that probably does need at least a 30-minute, and you probably need to cut that specifically or walk me. I've had state, not demos, but situations where there was like a farming sim I played like years ago at SGF where like they sort of walked me through it, and I'm like, I kind of prefer that because like I just want to see what your game has. Like, I'm not gonna be able to see that myself. But yeah, I loved bouncing around from different stuff. I feel like there was one game I kind of wanted more time with, Lazy River, because it's more mechanically involved. And then low-key, in a non-shady way, I could have used less time at Ukulele Kart. Nothing wrong with the game. It's just, you kind of get the idea fairly quickly because it's a racing game. And it was hard. So I was like, I think I've seen what I need to see.
Absolutely.
Ukulele was brutal because I was
guys.
honestly like, I told them at the front because that was the other thing where I was like, I hadn't signed up for the ukulele game, but it was like part of the rotation. And I was like, I really don't play a lot of racing games. Like, I'm so down to try this, but like, don't expect much from me because this is not the kind of coverage that I usually do. And man, the guy was very, very polite and very, very nice because I was so bad at it.
I was just falling down things.
That was one appointment where I wish we had a little less time because I was like, oh, man.
I wish I could have played. Yeah, Lazy River was definitely one I could have played a little bit longer, especially since that was, I think, the last game that I played and it got cut off.
Should we just start with that one?
Yeah,
then
let's
maybe
just start with Lazy River.
Yeah. So I'll do the initial setup and then we can get into thoughts. Lazy River is multiplayer co-op. Some would say it's in that friend slop genre.
People
you hate to say it, but if I say it, you know what I'm kind of talking about. So then, like, that's the issue. I fear the genre term is helpful. And essentially the setup is you're at a water park that was taken over by zombies, and you're kind of going down a raft. And so basically, Lazy River, you're making a raft on this lazy river, fighting enemies as they come up, and building out your raft. Everything's like water based, so it's like water guns, like water balloons, and it's a lot of going down the river for like kind of getting off of the boat that you've crafted and like exploring, foraging, getting materials, maybe doing some fighting, and then kind of getting back on the boat. Obviously, with only 15 minutes, you can't see that like much, kind of like of the systems or like wild things that happened. But I'm also talking to like the devs and like the PR and everything. They mentioned stuff like, oh, you can get like a grill and end up cooking on there, which I feel like that'll be fun. And yeah, I thought it was just like really intuitive, like fun, goofy, like a simple flow to the system that I just thought was like kind of enjoyable. I think the only thing I wanted from it that I didn't see was more like customization to the raft. Like, you're kind of gathering like these different inflatables, but they kind of like, once they materialize, they present themselves as kind of just like a generic like connected like circular flotation device kind of grouped together like you would on a lazy river, to be fair. But I kind of wanted a little bit more like whimsy and doofiness, just because that speaks to my player sensibilities. Like, when I got into Lethal Company, I loved saving money for like the romantic table. Has nothing to do with the game, doesn't help you mechanically, but it's like a little fun treat to kind of role play out existing in that world and just having fun with it. But yeah, even if someone doesn't play a lot of these games, I thought this one was pretty fun. I would want to play it when it fully drops.
Yeah, I had asked a little bit and they kind of did the like, oh, you'll have to find out. But like, I also felt like the one thing I would love is if you could like stack the inflatables and make like a tower that you could climb up and have like a water gun turret, or something like that. And so I'm hoping. It seemed like their responses were kind of positive, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that, like you said, the level of whimsy and sort of leaning really hard into the playfulness and silliness of the idea comes through in that raft building, because everything else felt really good to play. And as someone who, like, I don't often hop into multiplayer, like, quote, friend slop games, except for a very select few. I feel like this is one that I would hop into if, yeah, if I could, like, get other people to play with me. This is one that I would want to play. So I'm excited
Jenny,
for
I'll
it.
go in there and grill with you. Don't worry
Yes.
about it.
I know.
I'll
It's
go in
just
there.
so silly. It's great.
My playthrough, I took very seriously. I don't know what you're talking about, silly. I was
Get those headshots.
I was getting those headshots because what I did immediately was we had a craft table, and I found some supplies, and I immediately had enough supplies for a bow and arrow. So that's what I did the entire time. I was just shooting people with
Nice.
my bow and arrow. I was staying on raft. Like, I let the developer who was playing with me go off and get things. I'm like, okay, I'll defend you, don't worry. And a couple of times I saw someone coming up behind him, and I just ping and a zombie explosion. I was like, yes, it felt
See, we
so
would be
good.
great because I loved running off the raft, like chaotically and
Hmm.
gathering things and like chaotically running back and like making these wild jumps for the raft.
I love
I
it.
hope I'd make it. So
There
I
we
feel
go.
like we'd
Me
be a
and
good
Jenny,
team.
we got this. Janet, you've got the turret. We're all set.
I got your back from right here.
Oh yeah. Uh, I want to talk about another game from that section that I haven't had a lot of chance to talk about, and that's Screenbound. And I played this at GDC, and I loved it at GDC, and I am equally happy with it here. I liked the GDC version that I played because it was a lot more self-directed, so I could kind of play around with a lot of things. This one was very, because you only had 15 minutes and that was not enough. Um, Go here, look at this, go here, check this out, sort of thing. So, and then as I was fighting the end boss, it was like 10 seconds to go, and I got really nervous and I died. But Screenbound is so good. I'm so excited for it. The basic concept here is you are um in a game world, but you've picked up in the real game world, the real world, which is the in the game. You've picked up this Game Boy-esque sort of platform, and when you picked it up, you got sucked into the game, but you're still holding the Game Boy. Do you know what it's called?
Legally distinct Game Boy.
Legally distinct Game Boy.
I think we all know that they made a Game Boy, and even though
made a Game
Nintendo
Boy.
can't sue them, Nintendo knows they made a Game Boy.
So you are in the game world playing the game, and you can see both in 3D the level that you are in, as well as on the screen in front of you, the level that you are in. And one or both of them will have different things depending on which you're looking at. Janet.
I'm literally getting nauseous hearing you describe it, even though I played it, I know what you're talking about, but
Yeah.
it
It's
is
not, though. It
impossible
really
to
works
watch
out
someone
really
play.
well.
When you play,
Yeah.
it feels fine, but like, there's a lot happening in screen.
Yeah. It's a really cool, like, you're seeing secrets pop up in different formats where you can't see what's going on with the screen, but because there's like a 3D space in front of you, you can see what's going on. It's very clever. It feels really well. That's not an English
It's all
sentence,
right.
but you know what I mean. It feels very good. And I love that they're teasing a kind of more action version. I want to see how that feels, because platforming with the extra screen, it's like, okay, I can do this, but like when you have to put more action into it, I wonder how that feels. And I was hoping to see it this time, but no, I didn't get to.
Yeah, this is also my second time playing it. I definitely want to check this out when it comes out, because I feel legally obligated as like a platformer fan to play pretty much any platformer that anyone's willing to make. But honestly, like Screenbound feels a little bit more like a cool idea than it feels like a exciting game to play for me. I think my number one issue with Screenbound is the space that I'm in does feel like a bunch of assets and not a world. especially the 3D space. The 2D space definitely feels more like a world. It is inherently a little generic, like of a 2D platformer look, but so is like Kid Trip, and I love that game. It's like you can have kind of that generic 2D look, and I think maybe the thing here is that when you have a more generalized look in 2D, it's kind of not as felt, because I think there's like additional inherent charm you can do with things like, oh, the background having like these layered clouds and it kind of feeling like a lost Game Boy game or something. But in 3D, it ends up just feeling like we're at Asset Park, which is not necessarily bad for platforming because it does give you like a lot of space to like maneuver and things, but it's missing to me a little bit of the heart that I look for in platformers. And I'm always analyzing this aspect of platformers because it's very often that people making them, especially there's not really even any AAA stuff happening for indies besides Mario, so pretty much exclusively in the indie space, where it's like there's a lot of time thinking of the mechanics, and the mechanics are the most important thing, but you also want to feel like the whimsy of the space that you're in and feel like, oh, like an emotional attachment to the space is a big part of, I think, the platformer draw that isn't as discussed in a way, but I think is always felt, even if it's not perceived by the player. And I feel like Screenbound's missing that a little bit. And Jill, I'm the opposite of you. I'm kind of, when they were like, oh, there's going to be other stuff in here, like maybe a Zelda-y thing, wink, wink. I was like, wait, but now I'm confused. I felt like your whole game was like this platformer thing. Now you're telling me maybe there's other cartridges. Is this going to be like a bonus for funsy, like B-sides of the game almost, like extra thing? Or is it going to be like how many genres am I doing? Because also, I don't know. It feels a little bit like it feels more like a rug pull and less like a fun surprise for me. Because I felt like they spent so much time marketing this, being like, it's this crazy platformer. It's this 5D platformer. The first ever 5D platformer, And now they're like, and also other genres. And I'm like, whoa, you ain't saying nothing about this. So that's kind of where it ended up for me. Jenny, I forget if you had this included in your roster of Day of the Devs.
Yeah, I did. And I think, I forget, I was telling someone almost the exact same thing in terms of the presentation of between the 2D and 3D and not feeling that connection to the 3D world. This was my first time playing. I felt like while it felt really good, and I'm like a little concerned at how easily I took to having like the tiny screen and then the main screen, because I'm like, man, I feel like that makes me so TikTok pilled. Like, what is going on that this is actually not that difficult for me to like multitask with the screens. And like it felt fine to play, but yeah, I felt something about the 3D world in particular where it did feel very basic and did not read, like you said, with the same heart that I think the 2D world felt. And I also, at the end, when there was the boss battle, started feeling a little bit confused because I'm like, I also only expected this to be a platformer. I also am not 100% sure on like the story and how the story ties into this, because there is like quite an emotional story. I think you're like searching for your mom.
Yeah.
And so I'm really curious at how they're going to be taking this experience and like allowing you to also emotionally connect with the story of finding your mom, because again, like the disconnect from the world is already there for me, and then doubly so with like the intensity of that like emotional story, which maybe it's not meant to be that emotional, but like I don't know, missing mom is kind of, I was like, I feel like I should be more invested in like what's going on, and I didn't even register that.
Instead, you're like, yippee!
Yeah,
kind
and
of
I'm like jumping around.
Like, I really wonder if that first level was just their sort of first vertical slice that y'all could get through, and they have more to throw in there later. But this, again, like Janet said, this game has been marketed for so long as that. I sort of am in the back of my mind thinking that this is kind of a tutorial level, not exactly.
That's what I was hoping.
Yeah.
Like with the 15-minute format, like ish, that we got, what I ended up landing on is like, okay, they only have 15 minutes to show things. Hopefully this is just a symptom of the format that they're trying to display this game to people, and I'm personally still excited to try it. I think my expectations and maybe a little bit of my hype have been mitigated as a result of playing this demo.
That's always really a harsh
Mhm.
situation. But
Yeah. Also,
what?
it's called the Q Boy.
Yeah.
The Q boy. What it is? Because we talk about this
No, I mean
sometimes
it's
with,
valid.
like,
It
That's
was
so
just funny in the
wild.
context, being like, "Damn, rough." Anyway.
dang. No, but it is. We talked about it how like Grave Seasons was there,
Mhm.
a farming sim type game. Very hard to get the feeling of this game in the time that you have because you need to be able. I think big things start to happen on like day 5.
Mhm.
So you have to like be able to experience that to really know what's going on. Of course, Grave Seasons feels great, and what I've seen of it, I'm very excited about. But like, I really need to be able at some point, I feel like I haven't yet really sit with that game and like feel the rhythm and feel what's going on in it.
Mhm.
But a game that was in the Day of the Dev section that I think didn't really need that. Um, I don't know. Was there a game that really worked with this format for Day of the Devs, do you think?
Slap out of it was Day
It's
of
the Day
the
of the
Devs,
Devs.
right?
Was it Day of the
Was it Day of
Devs?
the
It
Devs?
was in the Day of the Devs section. I think that it was different, like it was not in
Technically.
this like 15-minute.
Oh, it wasn't. Yeah, you're right. That
Because
was a
I
separate
think
one.
another game that kind of, for me, I was really upset that fell victim to this 15-minute time chunk was Ithaca, which I'm super
Oh, that's crazy.
Oh,
excited
I was gonna say
about.
yeah.
the opposite. I felt like I had enough to get a sense,
Okay.
given that it's like, but it's a
Ithaca,
narrative game, so
yeah,
you're not wrong
Ithaca
on that.
left me wanting more. So that was for me a win with the format where I was like just really getting into the story. And then they were like, time for your next demo. And I was like, wait,
Yeah,
no, I want more. So that was
Hmm.
a winner of the format for me.
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like I
It
thought you were gonna
was
say Bub, because I'm like, Bub, you kind of. I feel
no.
like I need to get my hands in the dough a little bit more, but also I'm like, cool art, good animation. I'll just go. You're I
Hmm.
don't. If your story's bad, that's happened before. I'm not gonna be mad. I just want to see what you got.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
But
Does one of you want to set up what like Ithaca is?
Jenny, would you like
Yeah.
to do the honors?
Yes. So Ithaca, let me also look up like who I feel like is the game. No, the Pixel Hunt. There we go. So it's developed by the Pixel Hunt. It's basically a road trip narrative RPG where the choices you make are the RPG like add to RPG stats of who you are and what you've done. This is all also Grecian themed. Like all of the characters are based off of different Greek gods and demigods and deities. And you play as Penelope, who is a lawyer who seems to have someone in her back trunk. And so
Committed
as
some kind of
yeah,
eco
you've
terrorism,
committed
you know?
some kind of crime. And the road trip is you essentially grappling with who you are, who you're communicating with, and who you end up becoming as a result of the conversations. And I love that they have PSA, like don't text and drive, but like you're texting people as you're driving, you're calling them, you're listening to radio announcements and reacting to them. And so I found the way your character develops feels quite organic as a result of you just engaging with the narrative as a whole and the conversations as a whole. And at certain points, it's very clear where you have like forks in the road where you decide on critical personality traits. And so I thought it's basically a super fancy choose your own adventure personality test kind of story. And I was totally here for it. So, yeah, I'm excited for this one.
Like I said, I got cut off in the middle of this and I really wish I hadn't. But the one thing I like pinpointed, I'm like, oh, this game has me, is at one point you had the option to like contact people, and I didn't want to contact my partner because I knew that I was in the middle of this crime and that whatever was going to happen was going to come up in some sort of, I'm like, I'm going to get caught. There's no way I'm not going to get caught. So if I have a trial, I don't want I think it's boyfriend, to have to speak in my trial about what we talked about. And I was like, that was in my head. So I'm like, oh, this game has got me. I believe in the narrative of the game to the point where I am trying not to harm people that are close to me. So, and of course, I love ancient Greek mythology and just the interpretations of like Penelope being Odysseus's wife who stays at home, being the action driver here is really, really cool.
So don't laugh, but
okay. Go ahead, Janet.
I like didn't even get to the reveal of the there being a body in the back of the car.
Wasn't that like at the beginning?
I think that's the intro.
That's like literally the intro,
I don't.
Janet.
Was it?
Yeah.
Maybe, well,
I
also,
think so.
I got okay. So also, this is one of those like kind of unmanned stations. So it's also possible that I kind of just already kind of was like in the thick of things.
You're like, spoiler alert, what?
So Janet
I'm like,
was
but now
just so
I'm even
far
more
ahead of
in
us.
because I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, this might have been one where I was like, you know, it's like, oh, do I hit do I hit? Because this is like very inside baseball. But sometimes when you play a demo, it's like a specific file for like you don't want to be like just doing, you know, you don't want to hit like rewrite save. But then sometimes you do need to do that. So I think I might have just maybe hopped on and didn't know that, or maybe missed that one line or whatever. I was reading it. It's a text game. Okay, I was definitely reading all this stuff. Yeah, most of my stuff was just like drama with like, oh gosh, it's like I had the random number and it's like what do I say, the random phone number, and then I'm like, you know, F you, and then they're like, who is this and why are you harassing me or whatever, like I think it's someone else and it's like the wrong number. So what I liked about this a lot was was just how like engaging the interface was. Again, kind of going back to what's there to analyze about like games that feel a little bit like less traditionally interactive. It's like that dash interface of kind of, you know, modern car, self-driving car kind of vibe, you know, big tablet. You really had like a lot of at least perceived freedom. Maybe it's not as much freedom as you like think you do, but also it doesn't really matter. It's about like, do you feel invested in what you're doing? Do you feel in control of what you're doing? Even if like in reality you look under the hood, the development hood, and it's like everyone has these 8 things happen. It's like, but does it feel unique to you? And just having like the dialogue choices out the gate just being intriguing, them leading to things that are surprising, like it's, you know, like the do you want to smack talk this person, and then it's the wrong number, and you're kind of on a goose chase for like, well, who is this, and when did so and so change their number, and you're kind of playing telephone literally like through the dash. And I had like a little radio station, the music seemed pretty good, like it just had a bunch of stuff, and you can spec into manipulation, which I plan to do entirely. Manipulation drive for sure. Yeah, it just seemed fun. The only thing I couldn't get my head around was you kind of have like, I guess, is it a QTE for some of this stuff? Like I couldn't tell what the game wanted me to do. But that'll be fixed when like I play the actual regular thing, and there's like probably just a little tutorial that tells you, or that was where I found out about the body that I accidentally missed somehow in my video.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a really interesting game that we've got to keep an eye on. I want to play a lot more of it to figure out what's going on. Anything else in that Day of the Devs specific section? Because I know we've talked about Bub a lot, so I'm fine with kind of skirting past that.
Mr. Records, I think, was a part of that.
It was not.
Y'all were.
It was separate,
so
and I barely got in. But I want to talk about Mr. Records.
Yes,
First of all, the document, when Jenny typed it, auto-corrected to Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers.
Wondering what that was. I was like, like you got like other games.
Got a Mr. Rogers game? There was a Bluey game there, so I'm like, maybe there's a Mr. Rogers game.
You never know, yeah.
Mr. Records was so good. I think a part of what I really, really like about it, and this is not about the game really at all, so I feel bad, but like, it is the art of Plucky Squire. And I love the art of Plucky Squire, where I did not love the game of Plucky Squire. I want a game that looks like this, that is good. And I think that Mr. Records is going to be that.
The art
is it the actual same artist? Is it? Or
I didn't even look at that.
Know.
I thought is it called Hermit
and Pig.
I thought the art kind of was reminiscent of Hermit and Pig.
Yeah, it's got the old man, main character. That's the new trend right now, is old man.
Old man.
I mean, honestly, with like the Eternal Life of Goldman, Old men are very
Yeah.
in. They're
Old men
kind
are
of
in
Should
the
have
right
put
now.
frog.
that in the
So hot.
bingo. Damn.
Yeah,
Dang.
people love an old man. So there you
Yeah.
go.
Music also, every single song was a banger. I didn't find a single one where I'm like, oh, this isn't really for me. It's like and the genres were all super different and I loved it. So I'm not good at the like, I don't know if y'all played the hard ones, if you unlocked any of the like hard levels. Jenny, tell me that you were good at this game.
I was good at this game.
Yeah.
And I will admit, like, okay, the other thing is I was not expecting, because this is my first play days, and I think I was not anticipating how closely people like talked to you and watched you as you played. Because I'm like playing this rhythm game and I'm like, please let me focus. Please
Yep.
let me
Yep.
just like focus a little bit, please. But yeah, I went through the main game, unlocked the harder levels, went into those because I wanted to see it. I loved this game. It's very Moonlighter-esque in that during the day you
Yes.
are managing your record shop with your dog. You're recommending the records that you've unlocked during the evening to customers that come through. And there seems to be a story where you've got like an old man buddy who's also chatting with you, and you're kind of getting to know him and your customers. And in the evening, when you go back up to your apartment, you unlock records by essentially playing them and going into like the imagination mindscape of this old man who has like either the most vivid synesthesia, is that what it is? Where it's like you
Yeah.
can like
A sea color
experience
or
like
hear
see
color.
color. Yeah, he has either the most vivid imagination or synesthesia for music I've ever seen. And you go through each track and it plays as like a rhythm game. And what I appreciated is that instead of doing the typical like up, down, left, right directional button hitting a prompt section in a static location, you're actually going from left to right almost like a platformer. And the way that they signal the notes and what you have to hit is so, I felt it was so intuitive and friendly to non-rhythm game players. And I would love to know if any of you would call yourselves non-rhythm game players and felt how you felt, because as a person who loves rhythm games who was playing this one, I thought it was so much fun and it was probably one of my favorite games of the show.
Yeah. I think I want to add a third game reference for this game. If you've played Melatonin, this is another one of those games. I think this is a really good reference for how this game play kind of feels. So it's got Plucky Squire art, like wax head style management sim, and then you've got Melatonin gameplay, and it's just like this is such a recipe for a great game that I am very excited to see where this goes.
I didn't play it. It's the only one that I didn't have like
Shannon,
on my
yeah.
schedule.
See,
but
that was-
everyone was talking about it. Like not even just
Yeah.
y'all, but like so many people were like, "I really like Mr. Records." I'm like, "Damn." And then I'm a little blue too because in the swag bag they gave you like a Mr. Records coaster, so it's like stolen valor in my home. Like I didn't play this game,
No, I think
but it's what she said.
this is a really interesting way to talk about how Playdays works as well, because you are not like it is a conglomerate of PR companies. They're under the Playdays banner, but not talking to each other and not talking to like Keeley or any of his organizations, so that it is very piecemeal what you're getting. You're never 100% sure if you've seen everything. Like I saw Recur was at Playdays, and I'm like, I didn't know that this was going to be there at all. No one reached out to me, and I heard, and I basically everyone I talked to said that. So that's how those go, and then you typically slot in. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to slot it in anyway because I had overbooked myself. It's such a piecemeal of like, yes, I want to play this game. Set me up for this time. Oh, sorry, that time's not available. What time can you make work? And then, God forbid, you have to move anything around for things that pop up unexpectedly, which you're always going to do. I think for this particular, for Mr. Records, the PR did not tell anyone it was going to be there until after it was fully revealed. I want to say for Day of the Devs, when the Day of the Devs showcase went, then they sent an email. I had to go back and find it because I'm like, I need an appointment for this game. They had sent a message where the first half of the message was like, Day of the Devs was great and we showed off blah blah blah, and I was like, okay, this is like just a announcement press release. I could put more information out there, but I don't have time. The second half of that message was, if you want to play it at Playdays, message us and let us know.
And
like,
that's why I didn't play it.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, we all know
Y'all,
what this is. It's like you
we know
gotta
what
just
this is.
get it
We
out.
gotta
You gotta
keep
just
going,
quickly
because
kind of get stuff. Yeah,
it is
nuts.
one of the funniest parts of Summer Game Fest, and being so like in the middle of things you think and feel, and a lot of people are feeling like the FOMO of not being at Playdays. A lot of the time, other people in my audience are more like knowledgeable about the things that are actually happening, because when I am at Playdays, I'm literally from beginning to end in appointments. So I'm like, I didn't hear that announcement. My inbox is overflowing at the end of the day with stuff, and I have to go really quickly through everything to try to catch up. There are showcases that I missed watching live because of it. I have to go back to my hotel room at the end of the night to watch parts of it or all of it if I can. Like, it is such a strange thing to be in the middle of things but miss so much. I don't know if y'all feel that way, but that's always the way I feel about how things are going during Summer Game Fest.
No, totally. It's pretty wall to wall packed. I mean, we all like pick our own schedule, so it is packed because we packed it. And not gonna, but like it doesn't make sense to not, it's like there's not a lot of this job has its challenges. Like, I'm not gonna pretend like it's just easy peasy, but for the most part, it's not too crazy. Like, it's, your own time, your own choices, but like when you can have these just once a year moments, it's like you want to max it out. I think, at least, like, I certainly feel that way. I imagine a lot of us do, and a lot of our colleagues do. So it's like, oh, I'm gonna max out everything. I'm gonna play as much as I can, and I'm gonna see as many people as I can, and then I'm gonna sleep as little as I can, and then I'm gonna do it again. And you like do, because it's like, well, there's so few times that you get to do something like this. Like, you don't want to, like, now's not, it sounds really toxic, and it is a little toxic, but it's like, now's not the time to get the 8 hours of sleep. That's every other day. Every other day I'm all for that kind of stuff. But like, this is very much our playoffs, our Super Bowl, our whatever analogy. It's like, this is the time. So yeah, it's a lot. But then, like you said, you don't see like any of anything else, because it's like, how would you, like, why would you? But it is weird because you kind of hear like bits and pieces, like, not indie, but like on the AAA side, I didn't even know the new Crazy Taxi was announced, even though it was at Playdays. And then then a second later, they're like, and it's made with AI, and I'm like, what's going on? It's like, I felt so disoriented, like I felt so jumbled around. They do a feedback form every year for SGF, and one thing I put, it's like at least the second year I've written it, is, can there be some TVs around in like lounges and at the food trucks that are just looping different showcases, just so you can kind of get a little taste? Like, why not? Like, I don't know, because there needs to be something to kind of help bridge that gap. And then like it feels the showcases almost expire, where it's like, well, I don't watch this thing from 8 weeks ago. I'll kind of just, usually I catch up just from people's wrap-ups, which, Jill, I know you're the one writing the wrap-ups, so
I do a
rip
lot
to
of
you.
it, yeah.
Shout out to you. I'll just
Shout
read.
out to Jenny and the Wholesome team and everybody who like sends me things ahead of time. I did get one showcase that was like the day of Summer Game Fest, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, I do not have time. Like, getting all of that stuff knocked out ahead of time so that I can have it. It's just literally a personal reference note for me, so that later on I can be like, yeah, I was real excited about this, I'm excited about that. And I think also, Janet, what you talked about, trying to max not just the gaming, but also the social sphere, and the social sphere being a part of the job as well, because you are making those connections where, like, I ran into someone who I had not met before, who was talking with other people, who's making a game, and they gave me their card, and I gave them my card. So now I'm going to be a part of whatever content that's going to be in the future. And like, it's all of this stuff where it's like, we talk about socializing. So we go from the show that, from Playdays usually ends around like 6 to 8, depending on the day. And we immediately go somewhere else. Like it's not just like, okay, we're done with
Club,
the day,
club,
clock out.
another
Yeah.
club,
Yeah.
Yeah.
bus.
Bar.
Bar,
Uh,
drinks, shots.
yeah,
No. Oh
the
my
hotel
God.
lobby we usually go to was under construction, which I was really sad about, by the way, because
Mhm.
usually that's where everyone shows up and I can see everyone and make the rounds and say hi to everyone. And so I feel like I missed a lot of people this year that I didn't get to see in other circumstances, and that was very sad. I hope that that doesn't continue. But I think there is a large part of this job that is after the evening hours and into the late nights for this specific event that as like kills me, but also it is a lot of fun. And I also want to quickly shout out I missed you, Mike. Looking at you.
Mhm.
Like literally first time that I'd been to Summer Game Fest and Mike wasn't there. And I'm like, I really feel this missing piece. I'm so sad not to see him. He's doing great things. He's not dead that we know of.
Like whenever I had an aspirin and then washed it down with an energy drink, I thought of you.
Yeah,
That was me
thought of
channeling you.
Thought of you.
Yeah. That anytime I played a horror game, I was like, Mike, this is for you. It's like the
Which
Mike
is
Sicko
it
game.
is so bad, but like I will admit I did do that a couple times. I had to take like two different
Yeah.
aspirin,
No.
like while I was like,
Oh,
I think I was
I-
just dehydrated. But it's
Yeah.
like you can't. Something I've now like every year I think of like ways to do it better, and then every year following that I forget to read my own notes. So we're really close to bridging that gap. But it's so back to back with things that what I need to start doing is just after every appointment I drink a little bit of water.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's what I can. But then I don't want to bring like a bottle because then it's like a spill. So I don't. Anyway, it's a mess.
Keely has it really well ranged, though. There are a lot
Yes,
of
there's
like,
water.
liquid.
There's water available. There's water,
There's water
food, whatever you
available.
need.
I usually go for a lemonade so I can get a little more sugar.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's hard to sort of keep yourself healthy during those, even though everything is sort of put out. But yeah, it is so back to back to back to not be able to do that all the time. Even though there is food available, there is drink available in various forms. Uh, very funny when day drinking, you come up to someone who's like, "Oh, you're a little gone right now," in the middle of their demos, which is very funny. Let's talk about very funny because I think a lot of us have slap out of it on our
Yeah.
Stand
list. Very stand
It
out.
happened. It happened to me.
It happened to you.
I'll
too.
go last.
Slap out of it, I think, is the perfect balance between clever gameplay and very funny. Like it is that kind of absurdist. Like people, you are playing a character very relatable, needs a job, applies for something they didn't really think that they should get and didn't know exactly what it was. Come in and the job is just basically helping people. So you have people that come in and they're like, my hair is on fire. If you could help me, that'd be great. And you have to figure out how to get to the fire extinguisher. So that's one of the earlier ones. One of the like later as you go farther and farther, things get more layered, more intricate, more complex in figuring out various different environmental puzzles to solve very ridiculous problems. Jenny, how'd you feel about Slap Out of It?
I really love this game. I hadn't seen this, and because I at the time I hadn't like caught up to all the showcases. I know it was part of Day of the Devs, but I hadn't watched it at that point, so it was a complete surprise to me. Um, the art style is very Muppet-like, or if you've played Bug Snacks, it feels very
Yeah.
Bug
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Snacks-like. It's in first-person perspective, and you're constantly looking at your orange Muppet hands, and the only action that you really do is see your hands going forward in a slapping motion, and you just slap things, and that is like your primary source of interaction. I thought the like cheesiness of the puns, it was like just on that line of, okay, it's funny to me and it's not going too overboard with how weird or cheesy this is. And the escape room style puzzles were like, for me, the perfect level of challenge where I pretty much immediately kind of like knew sort of where I needed to go and like what I needed to do. And there was one part where I got a little bit stuck and I could see the dev and he's like, "Do you want help?" And I said, "No, let me just like struggle with this just a little bit more." And it was like for me that especially playing in front of people where I think my brain cells fire slowly,
Yeah.
more slowly. I
Yeah.
felt like even in that pressure situation, I was able to work through all of the solutions and feel really good about it. And they felt fun and silly. And I will say humor games are hard because humor is so personal. There are other games that have come out where people are like, "This is so funny." And I'm like, I don't really find it funny.
Yeah.
So I know that if the humor doesn't hit for you, then, your mileage will vary. But for me, it hit the humor that I enjoy. So I had a great time with it and I can't wait for more. I also love puzzle games. So yeah.
When I sat down for this game, it has the modes like puzzle sicko or like regular person. That's like literally how it's like named essentially. And I'm like, I'm just gonna pick the regular, like kind of the easier mode, like the one that just surfaces your task list. That's like the only difference between the two modes. And at any time, like in either mode, you can like ask for help within the game, and the game will give you like a hint. So I think the hint system is really strong. My joke out the gate is just that, man, I was bad this game. Like I just was like. The combo of one, I'm not that good at puzzle games, and two, the pressure of like the dev is right there. Three, it's like, hey, do you want to work for like several days and then like to solve a puzzle, and then also your appointment's done in X amount of time, and we make it so that the demo can be done in that time, but can you finish the demo in that time? That's like looming over me. My body temperature is rising. I'm scared. I'm still in the tutorial. I'm getting stuck. What's happening? It's like the walls are closing in. So that was my emotional experience. But as a game, I did think it was quite good. It's fun. It's pretty breezy, despite the fact that I didn't always like land on the solution. But a lot of the puzzles are inherently environmental puzzles, and I'm pretty solid at environmental puzzles. So they're a little bit more in a casual range. This is definitely like you can play it if you're not good at puzzle games. Like I do think you need to enjoy them to some degree, but you don't have to be good at them, especially because you have that built-in hint system. Yeah, I was intrigued to learn that the game was initially going to be a VR game, and the second the dev said that, I was like, holy cow, yeah, this is a fucking VR game. Not in a bad way. It's just like the way that you are, I'm like, yeah, like I could totally see why you would put this in VR. Totally plays fine outside of that, but I just thought that was kind of a nice fun fact. But the way the game really is, as far as the humor, I feel like you don't need to find it that funny to still enjoy it, which I think is a nice spot for a humor game, where it's like, there's things that might amuse you and you'll be amused. But if you're not amused, you're not going to be like, oh my God, like this guy, it's not that kind of humor, because it is like situational humor, and like silly little, bonus stuff, like the thing the dev pointed out to me, and I'm sure he probably did the same for y'all, or y'all just did it already and then it was just there, but like hitting the magazine and having it unfold, and it's like a centerfold, but it like goes for a really long time in goofy ways. It's like, haha, like it's like that. I'm not gonna laugh out loud at that, but it is amusing. So it's like an amusing kind of humor. But outside of that, like the puzzles are still just the puzzles, so you can just do the puzzles. It definitely helped like realizing and kind of trying to tune into the fact that it's all like cartoon logic type of puzzles. So it's,
very much, yeah.
what might happen in a cartoon setting, and how might you get creative in that way. And they have a kind of interesting structure to their puzzles too, where it's like you're in a more generalized space. Like the one they had us do was like you have access to a couple floors of like I forget if it's a hotel or whatever.
Some
Corporation,
sort of,
I think.
yeah.
It's like a couple floors, and they're like all different. It's like, one's a museum, one's like a nightclub, and one's a bathroom, and like there's some degree of crossover between the floors. So like you might get an item from floor 3 and you need it for floor 1. So it's kind of unique in that way, and like I don't know, it just kind of gives you more to potentially tinker with. I guess the risk of that though is it is like they are kind of inherently chained puzzles, where it's like you kind of need to figure out how to do A to do B or C. It's not like, it's unlike other puzzle games where you might be able to like, oh, I solved puzzle B and then I'll get back to puzzle A. It's like a lot of times they are kind of, at least in what we played, connected. But that'll just kind of, again, depend on your skill level, your preferences, like what you look for in it. But that's just more of an informative bit than a assessment on my part. I don't have anything for or against that. Just thought it was something worth noting on the structure of it. But yeah, I'll be better on in the privacy of my own home.
Yes. I think another really good element to that game, which is just maybe inherent in the way that you play, puzzle games can be a little frustrating. And whenever you get frustrated, because all you do in this game is slap things, you can just slap things around and release some of that frustration. So I thought that was really clever for the format. But speaking of games, I'm not going to go into it, but games that are really funny games that I think hit a really good balance. My arms are longer now. Very, very funny. Very thank goodness you're here sort of humor if you were into that. But you are playing as a sort of lengthening arm, sentient, wiggling, kind of moist arm that goes around stealing things. And it's very funny, and I got to play it during Summer Game Fest, and it was a lot of fun. So excited to see that. I'm looking through everybody's list here. Is there anything else that we really, I think Jenny, you have a couple here that we haven't touched on?
Yeah, and I didn't list everything I played. I pretty much only listed the stuff that I felt maybe a bit more positively on. I will say, like, shout out to Detopia. That was a game I honestly had like kind of middle of the road expectations for, and the puzzle mechanics elevated it for me, where the logic number puzzles they had, I was like, oh my god, this is so satisfying. I would honestly play a game just for these puzzles. They don't even need the plot.
And I will, because I'm like, I didn't know I was zonked out when I got to that like part of my day, like that. I will be honest. So and it was kind of like a free form. Oh, just jump on stuff at like Annapurna, and I'm like, okay, sure, Detopia. I didn't know anything about it when I played it, and it's inherently more, story walking simmy, and I'm like, I just kind of am a little too out of it to really feel like I'm getting much out of the story aspect. But then, once the puzzles hit, I was locked in, because though, like, I'm okay with like puzzles that tell me they're puzzle, like kind of front facing, like just a screen, like pick, cross, ask, or whatever. It actually reminded me a lot of like Unitide.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like loved that. So I was like, hell. Then and I also like the games because you're playing as like a, what's your job? You kind of work at like a factory.
You work at a factory
essentially.
Yeah.
You're like a utopian fixer
or facilitator, I think is what they call it in the game. Yeah.
I'm never going to call it that. I'm going to call it a fixer the whole time.
And I like that the game's like, do you want to do more? I'm like, yeah. Like, I kind of like when you have that kind of on-ramp, off-ramp. I think it's just very considerate of the player. And it gave me a chance to do more puzzles. So, yeah, I love those puzzles.
Yeah. Yeah, Detopia was a really pleasant surprise for me. The story also seems really interesting, but again, the puzzles are what sold it. Tenebris Somnia.
Before we jump, I just want to talk very quickly about Annapurna's setup, because there's a little campus. Playday is essentially like a little college campus, with all these different rooms that you go into, and everyone's got slightly different setups. I think if we were to give out an award for my favorite setup of Playdays, it was Annapurna, because Annapurna was set up like a movie theater, like a legit, you've walked in, there's like a little claw machine, there's a whole counter with just all the different kinds of like movie candies that you might want, and I'm just picking them up, y'all. I was like, I got 2 cases of Red Vines, like I was not pretending. I got like 5 haikus. Like,
I regret not taking more from Playdays in general.
I came back at the very end and they're like, please take more. Not enough people took even one, and I'm just like, okay, I'm loading up for the plane. I'm gonna be great. And then you walked into, like, for the hands-off experiences, a beautifully set up like movie theater with those like red bucket seat type things, and a big screen and curtains. It was just a really fun, like, not anything to do with the games themselves, but like the spaces that people put effort into, and I know how much effort this must have taken to put up into. So again, shout out Annapurna. Maybe honorable mention to the Switch 2 booth, which was all like bunk beds and camp feely, which was really cool as well.
I also appreciate, like, just to lean into the nostalgia even more, for each of the games that they were demoing at the Annapurna area, they had created like old style boxes to feature each
Yeah.
game, and that was just like such, I just love that little touch. Everything just felt so nostalgic there. And they had a game called Forever Ago, which is sort of this narrative indie game, very, very Annapurna in that you're like, this is going to make us cry. Like, this is going to be an emotional narrative adventure, dealing with grief of some sort. And they had in this game, there's like a camper van that the guy is like using for his road trip. And they had that van with like a sort of faux fireplace, not fireplace, campfire. And so they had like that set up really cutely as well. So yeah, I think they probably did the most in terms of thematic setting for their games, which I thought was fun.
Okay. Moving on from nostalgic and comfy, Jenny, freak us out a little bit.
Yeah, okay. So this was, again, this was one of the games where I was like, Mike, I'm doing this for you, but also
Doing this
doing
for
this
you,
for
Mike.
me. Tenebris Somnia is a game that I've been looking forward to. This harkens back to the older point and click adventure style game format, where you play this woman who essentially is I feel like descending into the depths of hell by the time you're kind of done with the demo. Um, the sort of unique spin that they take is they are mixing this pixel art, adventure game pixel art, with live action cutscenes. And it was really cool because they had the actor there who plays the main character, and she was like sitting, watching, and like hyping up, as you're beating the boss and everything, which felt very, very fun. And I just thought this was great. This is my kind of horror game where there's a little bit of the survival horror elements where you have to be frugal with your bullets. You have to maybe run instead of attack everything. But since it's 2D, very retro, I can play it and not be too freaked out. But the addition of the live action cutscenes was great because they got me on like two different actual jump scare moments with the live action. And so it was a nice blend of horror that I could play, but then actually scary moments for me, which I'm sure a real horror fan probably, I don't know if you'll find it actually scary, but I found it very scary in a very fun way.
Yeah. I'm so glad to hear that you were taking this one, Jenny, because I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't have to put my life on the line for this one. I am ready for people to be excited about it, and I loved
Mm.
I loved how it looked, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be brave enough to play this, but this is a game that I think people need to be paying attention to.
I
Yeah.
don't know if
And
I'll be
it's
smart
cool.
enough to play it. 'Cause it's like
I,
that
I
point and
think
click,
you
old school like
the
vibes.
logic did make sense. I was really pleased because sometimes the point and click adventure genre has logic that is not fun to me
Yeah.
because it does not make sense. And at least for the demo that I got to play, all of it made sense. And I didn't find any sticking points where I was like, I have to combine these two things to make what? Like I feel like always happens at least once.
Yeah.
Um, and the boss battles were, again, there was a puzzle element. Like in this particular boss battle, they give you a very overt like hint of, oh, you can only attack when everything is dark. And so the puzzle element to the battle is you have to like take all the lights out before you start attacking the boss. And that for me was fun. It was like just enough intellectual where I was like, oh, I feel smart because I'm using a strategy, but I didn't really have to figure it out. They told me basically.
I want to shout out another game that is in this more sicko territory, which I was a little less like it's going to be less scary. End of Abyss was a really fun, very atmospheric sci-fi kind of things be coming at you, but it's at least not super horror that I played. Uh, Sci-fi shooting not usually my genre, but I was super into this. This is another one of those games, though, with Epic Games as the publisher. We have to argue whether or not this is an indie game, like for real, for real. Uh, and I think there were a lot of different games like that, but I definitely want to shout out End of Abyss as being a very interesting. It has some of the like Souls shortcut systems, which I found really interesting. the final boss I was so pumped up for, and I had like one shot to kill it before it finally took me out, and the developer was like, that's literally the closest anyone's come to beating this boss. And that's always like
Let's
a really
go.
fun moment. It's like, hopefully they're not lying to me, because you get a lot of that, but I think they were, like, I could kind of tell from the way the PR person was reacting, because the, like, when you have a situation where the dev is talking to you and the PR person's just kind of there facilitating things, a lot of the time that PR person's like taking care of other things and getting everything else. When you see them suddenly like look up and like pay attention, you're like, oh, something is happening here. So I kind of feel like that was a really, I think maybe one of my most fun moments of the show, of just getting to that final boss and feeling like I was really, really close. And then quick shout out to Crimson Moon and Nakomi Nazi Hunter, with being slightly darker than normal. I think Crimson Moon kind of Souls like Doom like game. Interesting combination. Nakomi, I'm gonna hold off any thoughts I had about this game because I don't think it was ready to show yet. I was pitched a offhand version of it at GDC. I was really interested in that pitch of being like a kind of stealth thinking game, and the demo shown here was not that. So I want to hold on to my opinions and see if that goes anywhere else as we get closer, because it's not anywhere near the end of development. It's very, very early. So I'll talk about that later. I think, speaking of games that we are questioning whether or not they're indie, let's talk about that new Sonic game that was revealed.
Yeah, I put this on my list and I said, is this indie? I don't think the studio's owned by anybody. Question mark? Which, that's,
I don't think
that's
so.
where my research
Yeah.
brought me. But yeah, obviously, you can argue, and it's been argued, that if there's like a big IP, like kind of collab licensure, then that type of oversight inherently makes it not have the creative free reign potentially. But then what's going on with Moomins, Jill? You don't have an answer. So
You know, that's what
you
I'm
keep
saying.
covering these
That's what
fucking
I'm saying.
Moomins. Then I'm going to cover
I
Sonic.
keep covering the
Okay.
movements.
Also, oh my god, would Mike like that I'm covering Sonic? Mike, I finally played Sonic. Hello.
Mike, we did it.
I'm screaming through the bookcase at you. Okay, yeah, Sonic Pico Park. It is Sonic Pico Park, but if you're not familiar with what Pico Park is, it is this very minimalistic. Is 8-bit accurate? I never know how many bits are in anything I'm looking at. It's like pixelated, like super minimalist art, like just assets, but in a positive way. Like it's kind of has that design of, if you've played Box Boy or games like that, you'll be familiar with that kind of terrain that is just like the ground you walk on. It's a rectangle, that kind of thing. But the whole shtick is that there's like quick hit environmental puzzles that you can solve, and that it's cooperative, local or online, 2 to 8 players. The Sonic version is the same general concept. The only, or from what I can tell, like the big key difference is that they're Sonic characters. So you have some of the abilities that these Sonic characters have. So like the classic get into a ball and like zoom up a wall. It's like there's a lot of puzzles that'll be like designed around that. There's some that involve like flying, where it's like, you can use Tails and he can fly, and like Knuckles can glide. How might you like figure out a certain puzzle in that way? You can like carry people over and like fly them to the other side. But it's a lot of this is like part inherently environmental puzzle game, and part haha it's hard to work together kind of style of game, where a lot of the times the things you have to do are fairly simplistic. Like it won't take you very long to have the answer to what you need to do, but it might take you longer to be able to execute it. Things like precariously placed springs, things like, hey, we all need to stack on top of each other to like make this ladder. Okay, you go first, whatever. It's like that kind of level of like cooperation and experience. It's really fun. It's really cute. I'm really excited for this. A funny thing about playing a game like this at SGF is like, it's just random people. And like, I know a lot of people in the industry, but like everyone I was with, I like never met I don't know if y'all listening to this show. I never met y'all. I feel like I didn't meet you then, and I don't know who you are having left. It was kind of like the vibes were a little, like a little awkward and a little frosty. Like, I don't know. It just kind of was like, okay, like what's going on? Like I don't know. It kind of felt, it was like a little awkward. It was just awkward
because we had talked about this, and you had your appointment ahead of me, and so I was like, oh yeah,
Yes.
fingers crossed. Hopefully, like at least I know now if we're not verbal, I'm gonna have to like take the lead because we're gonna have to talk. And yeah, I had a very similar situation where it was me and like three other people who were not talking. Like I came in and I was like, "Hey, I'm Jenny. Like, what's your name?" And let's this is a co-op game, so let's like introduce each other. And everyone was just kind of like, "Cool." I was like, "All right."
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I had a similar experience to you, and I'm glad you mentally prepped me for it because I was like, "Okay, this is more normal." Because if I hadn't known that someone else experienced it, I would have felt very self-conscious about it.
It was it happened. Sonic Pico Park had happened to me. It was really fun though, and like
Yeah.
It totally was just like you're playing with random people that
Yeah.
and it's like, and to be fair, it is kind of an awkward situation because it's like, okay, how are we? It's like you're put in a weird like non-stakes challenge together because it's like not that deep, but it's also like, all right, I guess hello. It's just kind of it's just kind of a funky thing, but I'm excited to play this, even if it's illegal to play because it might not be indie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my other controversial one too is Out of Words from your corner,
Same.
Jill, the Epic Games. Again, I think I would just count that, but I get what you mean. Big publisher. Not a lot to say on this one. Obviously, we spent a lot of time on a lot of these games, so I don't want to run too long. But it's the co-op game where you're the kids and they're like almost like handmade doll kind of art look to it, and they don't have mouths. Like you might remember seeing it a year ago. I think was the initial reveal, and it was at SGF last year. I just didn't play it last year. Played it this year. Liked it overall. I feel like both difficulty and also intrigue wise, it feels a little bit more on that Unravel level, but almost more like walking simmy. Like it doesn't feel like what I played, and it was like bouncing around. Like this is like the 2/3 in. This is like the beginning, which I think is good. I know Jenny, you mentioned that all the time, and I'm always gesturing to what you said about the value of sometimes making specific demo experiences and how that might be the better way to showcase your game, even though it is inherently more work and thus more money. But it is Epic, so I'm guessing I hope y'all got resources, it's God forbid, right? But yeah, it's not wildly complex, but I think it feels good to move though. And it feels like it'll be more of like some light puzzles and more about like the experience in the ride than like, I don't know if I'm going to play anything that's going to like be as mechanically engaging as like, I know a lot of people always draw like the Split Fiction comparisons now if there's a co-op game. I don't think it's that kind of game, but it feels good to move and it's like a fun experience. So yeah, I left positive on it, but that's just something to set expectations on like what level of mechanics you can expect. But it was big on like the gravity flip stuff and had a fun shtick of throwing a little guy back and forth to give you the flip. So it was just like I feel like the cooperative parts are going to be really cooperative, which is cool. Sometimes and I think all styles are valid, but sometimes a co-op game is you're doing the same thing and you happen to be together, but doesn't matter. And sometimes a co-op game is like you have to work together, but you also still feel like you have autonomy. So there's like many flavors, and this flavor seems to be leaning a little bit more into like we're really going to be talking to each other and working together in this game.
Yeah, a really different flavor of co-op you have on your list here that I want to talk about also is N plus Infinity times 2. My first round with this game, like you're thrown into a map, and you don't really know who you are. And the other people, I was playing with a PR person, I was playing with 2 of the devs, didn't know who I was. I was so proud of myself. I was getting to the end of the map. I was doing really well, and then I got blown up by the freaking PR person. You know who you are. And had to go all the way back to the end. So this is not one to foster connectiveness and teamwork. This is relationship murder. But fun times. I had a really good time with it. Did you enjoy your time with it, Janet?
Yeah, overall, it didn't end up being like an insane standout to me, only because it's like a very specific thing. It's kind of a party game kind of vibe. But I think it's well made and it's fun and everything like has thrill to it. Like it's very engaging the whole time. To set it up for people, you kind of have like varying degrees of a space. The stuff we played was pretty on the more simple end, so it was like more like one screen and your small little like stick figure guys. And there's different like modes and different goals and things, but essentially you're trying to like have the most points pretty much. And it's like you want to get to the end of the level. The end of the level might be at the bottom or something, but there's also like coin, like are they coins? They're like things you can collect to like up your score, but then it's like kind of risk reward of like, well, you also get benefits if you're like the first one at the end, but also if you don't make it to the end, that's like kind of an L, and you could like not make it to the end by like in certain modes. When you get to the end, you can become a missile targeting the players that remain. I think my favorite, well, it's funny because my favorite game mode was the one I was good at, because we played a couple game modes and like I went into this being like, oh, I know N plus. I never played those other games, but I know they're like platformers and I like that. And this is like you're platforming, but it's just kind of a different it's more, it's not mechanically like Nidhogg, but it's more of that flavor of like you're kind of, competing against each other.
Or like
and I like wasn't
Ultimate
doing
Chicken
well
Horse.
like at all. And I'm thinking, okay, I gotta like lock the fuck in because I'm the platformer person, and I don't know how y'all feel. We talked about the whole like being a woman in games, but it's like I don't want to be like, oh, of course I'm dead, like awkward, like I just didn't want to.
Yeah.
There's that pressure to like be also good at games, even though no one's ever been mean to me in real life, or frankly even online, which I think might shock some people. I don't really get direct haters. I get like indirect haters on like content I'm on. No one's added me for real because I think they are afraid of me, which they should be. Or they should be afraid of everybody because you shouldn't be mean to people. But I'm like, okay, let me try to like lock in because I feel like, damn, like reps on the line, even though, mind you, I don't know who these people are that I'm playing
Right,
with.
and they've been playing it for like 8 hours straight just that day.
Yeah, it's just like, no, it's just like other SGF attendees. But I liked the ones that were team-based. So it's like you split into two teams, and it's kind of like a tag. It's like you go first, and you try to collect stuff, and then right after that, like the other team goes, and they're trying to like kill you by making like contact with you. And that was just fun because you got to like it just fit my skill set better, which is like knowing how to like slip in between things and like judging space and stuff. Like I was just better at it. And then I was like, honestly, my team was like kicking ass, and I was like, guys, we're kind of on a generational run here. And it was also kind of, again, the same Sonic Frost I got. Because once again, I was just playing with these. Okay, if you're listening to this and you played with me, I'm sorry, but like the vibes were not very conversational. I was like, wow, we're doing really good. And I'm thinking like, bro, who's even on my team? Like no one has said anything.
We were having
anything back.
We were having so much fun. I was just saying things left and right. So
yeah, but it's like it's a cute, fun, like quick hit, like party game rotation kind of title.
This is cool. I didn't see this one. I just wish listed it.
Yeah.
We all need to play together. There are a lot of games here we need to play together.
Yeah.
Janet, I think you were really high. I think you were higher on this than I was. But Demi and the Fractured Dream.
Yeah, you weren't. You don't believe in Demi and the Fractured Dream?
I feel like I didn't get enough. This is one of those games where I didn't get enough of the action. It was kind of like this was in the Switch 2 area. I had a few things where I'm like, I really need to get to these.
And in Annapurna.
Oh, okay.
Did they have the
I didn't
same
know that.
demo at both places? Do you know?
I don't know for sure. I would assume so.
Yeah.
But I didn't get the full time with this one, so it was really just like, okay, I get what the mechanics are. We've got some puzzles, but I didn't get a full sense of anything.
See, but like that, I think we had the same amount of time, and I just liked it more. Like, which totally fair. What I liked about this is like a Zelda-like, which is really funny that Nintendo had this because I was like, oh yeah, it's like Wind Waker, and then it's like, is that bad of me to say? Like, am I gonna be sued? Because it's like they know it's like Wind Waker, like
they know
they have to,
yeah.
And it's like Wind Waker in some of the animation work of like the way the dust kind of animates, and it's like it in the Zelda-ish structure of like the way the dungeons are, the way the puzzles are presented, and the way you do combat. Those are the like tether points to Wind Waker specifically, not the wayfaring and all that though. Let me get on a boat and just go around because that was fun, except you did that for too long in Wind Waker, but then they fixed it and they never released it again. But yeah, I like this because the TLDR is basically, I just thought it controlled really well and the puzzles seemed solid. Like, I do admit though, Jill, and maybe this is what you ultimately are getting at with like your take on Demi and the Fractured Dream, this is a game that's not necessarily like holy shit, like this is the hottest thing I played. But I thought it was very, very like solid as hell. Like I feel like if you like this kind of game and you're looking for them, I think there's many games that chase that Zelda feeling. And a lot of times when I'm playing a game that's chasing Zelda, I can like see that they did everything except put the tunic on him. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, okay, I get it. Like you made it like this one feels like it is reminiscent. It's definitely inspired, but it feels like enough of itself, like in I think the character design and frankly, I thought the combat felt kind of better than some of those old Zelda games. Like Zelda is typically a bit stiff, and this felt like I felt like I had a little bit more maneuverability and acrobatics to my character. So those are the things that stood out. But yeah, this is definitely like if I had to guess, like I feel like this is kind of gonna be like a 7 out of 10 that like I might like a 9 to 10 out of 10. Like I might just really like it. But I do think I felt like it was good. Like I felt like it confidently gets like a stamp of approval for me. But do you think you mentioned the time, but is there anything else about it that kind of do you just kind of have almost like the opposite take of like it just didn't stand out kind of thing?
I think there were things that I had already been blown away with when I came to this, and it was like, okay, y'all have 10 minutes left in your session before we kick you all out, and I was just kind of like, okay, I get what's here. This is solid. It's got it's really beautiful stages, and I love that. Maybe I'll love it more when I get more context for what's going on. But yeah, very solid for Demi. Speaking of Tunic, by the way.
Oh, I was going to say, I felt the same with it. I think I leaned towards it felt a little generic to me, but the demo that I played at least did not have a ton of story context.
Yeah.
It was really mechanically focused. So I'm hoping, because the hype for this game feels pretty, like I've seen it a couple times across my social feed, and every time it's there, like, it seems like a lot of people are commenting on it and excited for it. So I think it felt really good to play, but I think I'm with Jill in terms of I want to see the story to feel like it actually has its own identity more than what I currently am feeling.
Yeah. I'm team like, let me get this like Zelda dupe. Like I'm just like this is which I know is like it does inherently have like a tinge of negativity to it, but it's like fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, because it's like, it is very much the same thing. I think we have a lot of the same assessments, and I'm just like, and I can me that bootleg bag of Cheetos.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because I'm like, it's still a cheesy chip. I just kind of want to chomp on the cheesy chip.
Put that on the back of the box, everybody.
Yeah, I want to see that in the next trailer.
Yeah. Y'all know I love Tunic. Y'all know any game that's reaching for that is something I'm going to be interested in. I'm shuffling over here to Hands On with the Mix, where I'm just going to kind of rapid fire here. Dungeon Lurker is a game that I've come out of that I might be maybe most looking forward to playing more of and seeing what's going on. It's like a really retro, it looks like you're playing on an old TV set, and I love games that have that sort of visual filter. Where you're going through a dungeon, but things are obviously not all just game related. There are secrets hidden throughout the world. So I'm super excited to check that out. Deadroot was a lot of fun. I don't know if like it was combat-y in a way, but it wasn't like high level like precision combat. But it felt fun, and you are a snail. And anytime you shield, you like hide in your shell, and then when you move, you like shuffle forward. It was the cutest animation I had seen. Alchemice, leaning into my strategy sicko era. It is a little mouse who's been cursed and has to defeat all of these things to get through the curse. And then Dancing with Ghosts was super, super emotional. I think y'all might remember the diorama that was in front of it. I took a picture with Jenny.
They win for best booth setup for sure.
100%. It is delightful and very personal to the developer. It is essentially working through the developer having lost their child. So really, really like knowing that context going in, you're like, oh, this hits really hard. So we'll have to see more about that. And I know, Jenny, you have a couple of things from the mix that you want to shout out.
Yes, just to speed run them. Ball game was my game of show for the mixed. This basically is a golf meets pinball-esque physics arcadey kind of game. There seems to be a slight hint of a story or context that sort of will be building as you go through the levels. It plays hard on nostalgia as well. The game is pixel art, and as you go through the levels, you see a lot of old like trinkets, toys, and sort of media that brings back, like, especially if you are a child of the 90s, for example, like all of this, I think, ties into something that they'll probably explain more in a story, but at its core, it is just a really fun physics golf game. I did not want to stop playing. Um, Wabi Sabi Sushi Derby. Uh, this
Nailed
honestly
it.
was just really charming. It is not complex. You build a small little sushi, a small nigiri, you level it up, you race it. It's what was the racing game that everyone was playing? The
Oh my god,
horse?
jockey, horse jockey, pocket jockey.
No, it was like the girl horse racing game. I was like,
Oh,
ah,
fuck, god damn it.
it's
Everyone on
very
PewBang played that.
reminiscent of that, where you're like, you're just
I'm gonna have
leveling
to look
up
it up.
your nigiri, sushi,
Uma
and
Musume.
yes, and it's like the racing is kind of idle. There's a small interaction point where the chopsticks will go and try to take the nigiri, and you just have to help encourage your sushi to dodge it. The wabi sabi comes from your sushi at a certain point, like peaks and then starts to go bad. And so you're constantly dealing with the loss, of your sushi going bad and having to like get new horse
They look so
sushis.
cute.
It's adorable. I feel like this is just like a silly, fun game that I honestly would just want to play like while traveling or a little bit before bed while I'm listening to a podcast or show. And so love it. So much personality. Um, Neighborhoods was really, really cool. This is a kind of like a sim city sort of esque game, but the goal is not to create a new city but to improve upon a city that has like not great services. And so I really found that intriguing, where they're billing it as a city fixer, I think is what they called it when I talked to them. um, I love the idea of not necessarily creating something new, but making something better for the people who live within it. And the art style is very fun. It's very claymation-esque, and
Hmm.
everything's very soft and Play-Doh-y. There's a little bit of silly humor, like I think in their trailer, which will show there's like a guy right here. The guy gets run over by a car, which sounds brutal, but it's like all clay, so it's very, I don't know, silly. Um, this looks really cute, and it's by Eline Media, who have done some really powerful games. Like they are the Never Alone folks. They did Beyond Blue, and so I'm just very intrigued because I have enjoyed games from them previously, and they are always very thoughtful with what they put together. Um, Plot 2 also was at Playdays, which I spent more time with at Playdays, but shout out to them being at the mix. I loved the first game. It's basically a continuation and expansion of what you played in Hua 1, where you are a fairy who is trying to revive your like giant robot friend in this beautiful nature-filled world. And it's essentially you exploring, gaining skills from the creatures of this world, and they have more mechanically inclined, like timed puzzles, which I found personally really fun. I could see some people not enjoying the time pressure, but I think they have accessibility options where it slows down that if you don't want that to be a part of your gameplay. But it looks beautiful. Like if there's any game that could be called Ghibli-esque in terms of its animation and its art direction, Batu is one of them. And the final one is a game called Don't Let It Starve, which is like a sicko bento game. This one is basically you are trapped in this room where this demon-esque creature from the depths of a hole is like, make me food.
Yes.
And you then have to make food, uh, and you just continue to add points. I'm blanking on it's not Balatro like, but it's got that like idea of you're going on these runs of trying to make increasingly complex bento boxes with buffs and things to help increase your points so that you can like survive to the next round. So much fun. There is a free demo. I've been having a blast with it. This is what I've been playing before going to bed. And
Yeah.
just
And
launched.
it's out. So
Yes.
y'all can freak
Damn.
yourselves out with this if you would like.
Me like now I'm overstimulated because I'm like I just hit add demo because I'm like I do need to get on these demos. Like I
Get
know
on
I'm
these
very
demos.
very like I don't want to do a demo, but I'll do like events that are basically just like that's just a demo.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
But now I'm like, well, now I have to unadd the. It's all out of whack now, but I'll fix it. Yeah, I love cooking stuff with like funky little twists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there's been a lot. Well, there's kind of always a lot of games that have bento boxes in them, and I love it every time because I like seeing
Me
that
too.
food. Though
Yeah,
this is kind
and
of
it's
more of like a dark like schlubby look. I get that it's in
Dark
keeping with the
schlubby.
art style, but I'm like, ugh, it would be kind of fun if it was like really like pristine for no reason though. Also,
Yeah.
but I
Every
feel it, I
once in a
feel it.
while, it just kicks into 4D HD. Like, why? I think the last game in our hands on that we all literally put down was Bad Magpie. And I have to say the game like that every time, or else I accidentally call it Mag Bad Pie. And I'm like, that's not the name of the game.
I'll be
Yeah, the
so-
mouth feels a little tough for some
Yeah.
reason. But the game is great.
Yeah, tell us about it, Janet.
Yeah, Bad Magpie. Now I'm scared also.
Yeah.
Is a game where you play as a little bird. And you're the titular magpie, and you're out there just sort of solving like environmental puzzles. It has a little bit of the like, ooh, you're a stinky little animal like, causing a little chaos, but honestly, it's not as chaotic as it might seem in like some of the like elements of the trailers. Like it really is more about you just solving stuff. Like you're kind of like a little shit incidentally rather than like, if you think of something like an Untitled Goose Game, which I do think this has elements of that mechanical construction with like the sort of you're in a space, figure out what you have to do. But it's a lot more about like the environment, and in the stuff that we played, you're also kind of interacting with other animals and kind of like getting in the way in their space in cute, fun ways. I think what I liked the most about this game are probably two big things. One, I think the art style is really satisfying and kind of tasty looking. It has like a bit of like a smoothedness to the kind of cartoony look, almost as if there's like a technique, I'm gonna like totally butcher this, but there's like a technique in painting where you kind of like can take like a gloved hand and like smoosh the paint around to kind of give it a more sort of like delicate, smudged, lived-in feel, and the art really feels like that, which I think is cool. And then the second thing I really liked is that the puzzles felt like very achievable, but they had a couple tricks up their sleeve. So it'd be something like you encountered a piano that you can like stand on, and it's like, I guess I'll have to like maybe play something, and it's like yes and no. It's like you're more like putting the weights down to like press the notes more than playing something, and like just small things like that feel like there's just enough subversion that there's a little bit more intellectual intrigue than you might expect. And then I also like that this seemingly is a game where they're going to give you like let's say a level, and you can progress, like you don't have to do the whole thing, you don't have to 100% it to progress. So I also like that as well. I think it's really great when games give you the option to within the game choose your difficulty. I think that's so much more compelling than just like an easy hard. Like it's kind of like, well, if you want to do more, like you might be pushing yourself. And then it also, I love that in games because it allows for a more inclusive range on like what you might find difficult. Because like a thing I might get stuck on, like Jenny might find out right away, and vice versa. And that kind of just allows you to sort of like have your own flavors to things. I also like that you pick up items and can kind of like, there's interactions like through those items. So a big part was like using flint and hitting against a rock to create fire. And then it's like, what kind of things can you do with that? So yeah, I thought it was really, really nice and like refreshing, despite feeling like it is, standing on the shoulders of like other games in this style that came before, other like checklist games, but still doing its own thing with it, which I really liked.
Yeah, I enjoyed this so much. A lot of people that I ran into compared it to Untitled Goose Game. I don't think that that's the most apt. I think it's because it's a checklist game that has a bird in it.
Yeah.
And you are being mischievous. There is
Yeah,
an
he's a little
element of
sneaky.
mischievousness to it. Um, but I think this actually works a lot better in comparison to like Little Kitty Big City is maybe a little bit more.
Mm,
It
Yeah.
seems like there are levels that are kind of finite but open, and then you can go to next section. There were really clever things like this particular cutscene right here. This shot
Mm.
was really funny because you have kind of destroyed one of the computers on the bottom left there, and when you walk in, then your Magpie is a bird on the screen, and you actually go and pick up that megaphone, and the megaphone then you put up to your beak and you like amplify your honk is not the right word for a magpie, your tweet, um
Caw.
your caw,
Yeah.
instead of like Untitled Goose Game that was mostly just for fun to be able to honk things, whereas for this you are actually using your honk to like break things. You are magnifying your voice so that you can break things. I think there's a lot of heart to this game too. I think there's going to be a lot more emotions connected to it, which we saw a little bit in the trailer with like obviously his wing is broken in the beginning, and he can only really hop. He can't fly, which is why you're not able to just get from place to place. And to have that flying V flying over with the shadows, and he's just placed himself in the missing shadow and hopping along, and then ends up at the cliff because he can't fly with the rest of them. I'm like, that is so heartbreaking for me. Like, I don't know why that touches me the way it does, but I'm like, I think we need to save this bird. This bird needs help. So like I'm really, and the fact that the whole reason that you're going through these levels the way that you are is that you are trying to collect a shiny for the meteor that fell in a parking lot
So
nearby.
sweet.
It's so sweet. It was like what I want, you know. And he seems like he's trying to like court the meteor. So like there's a lot of really interesting sort of emotional elements to this as well that I think we're going to pick up on a little bit more and give this just a little bit more depth than before. And just like, I don't know what this creature is about. I'm going to really be interested to see what's going on because this creature was in our demo and it was like offering sage wisdom and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know why you're here or what you are in the lore, but okay, you're just randomly in a kid's sandbox. Cool.
Mhm.
Which I do love as games. It's just like, because why not? You know, there's just a big kind of dragon looking thing in the middle of this. And all of the puzzles were, again, clever and intuitive in a way that's easy to dismiss, but is actually very hard to do, to make things just go nice and smooth like that and not have to think too much about it and not, I don't think at any point I was really like, oh, I don't know what to do. It's like, okay, there's going to be something with this and then something with this and so really well made and designed in order for that all to come together.
I appreciated that there were also more puzzles than needed to progress. And so I found that there were people who had solved different things that I did, and people did things in different orders. And so that was really fun to also see. Yeah, this game, I don't know. We talk about, because I think we've mentioned a couple times where we're like, oh, we're looking for games with heart. And it's so hard to convey like what that actually means in
Hmm.
practice. But I think what this game had that I really loved is there's like a cohesion of not just the art, but like the tone where you're just like a little bit, like you said, mischievous. You are a little bit bad, but at the same time, none of it seems like it's out of any kind of true malice, and you are smiling at every little interaction. And
Hmm.
I love it when I think I want to do something, and everything in this game has been so thought out that the developers knew that I would want to do something, and that interaction has already been like programmed and thought of and implemented in the game. And that for me is part of that heart where it feels like the developers have already thought two steps ahead of me as a player. And so I'm not encumbered by my hopes for how I want to play this character. So that's like part of what I look for when I'm saying heart, I guess. And this game had it where I just loved being that bird so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I think that's pretty much Summer Game Fest.
Ooh.
Unless anyone else wants to jump in. Go ahead, Janet.
Yeah, I know that you probably skipped it because we talked about it on the Game Informer show, which we were on during
Yes.
SGF. But just a quick nod to Blood Dungeon.
Yeah. Shout
You know,
out.
for people that only consume this one
Yeah.
podcast.
Who only come
Because
here.
I know there's people out there, you know, probably genuinely do because they take time to listen to. Yeah, Blood Dungeon. Probably my game of the show as far as indies, and honestly, almost my game of the show overall. I really liked it a lot. It is a God, it's a like a Vampire Survivors like type of structure, but it's a platformer. But it's much stickier than you would expect because you can climb on like the walls and you can climb on like they have that Super Mario World kind of gate that you can like walk through. But essentially what you're doing is it's like, you know, again, auto shooter, so you're having these different abilities you're picking up. The art style is very charming, very MS Paint. The animation work goes a long way here, where the default like guy with the little blue shirt, he's waving his arms every moment of him moving, which is like really fun. Just kind of it's a very like derpy looking game, but it's just very like fun and satisfying to play. You're kind of going around an area and then slowly gathering keys to open up like almost like shortcuts with so you can more easily maneuver in the area as you're trying to like kill these different enemies, continue leveling up, and defeat the boss that's at the end of this dungeon space. But love this a lot, and I was also very good at it, which might be part of why I love it. I think I would love it either way because I died pretty early. I was like, oh, this stream's pretty fun. And then I went on a run that you would not believe. Last appointment of the show. It was like I was like a 7 p.m. appointment. I was like, hey guys, I'm sure you were hoping that I would not show up so you could go home, but I'm here. And everyone was very nice, and the game was really, really great. Just wasn't on my radar at all before. Now I just can't wait. The demo's out now if you want to play it yourself and get a sense for it.
And you very much should. Go play Blood Dungeon. On the same vein, we didn't talk much about Bub because we have mentioned it in other podcasts, but go check out Bub as well. It is going to be a real experience. Y'all, we're over Summer Game Fest, but it's not the only fest we had this month. Back to back, you get to feel what we feel because we are going from Summer Game Fest into Steam Next Fest, and we are absolutely like embarrassment of riches. Still so many things to play afterwards. I'm just going to very quickly shout out some of my favorites. I don't know if you want to go into detail on yours, but 2 games from the Latin American Games Showcase, which I mentioned earlier, Canvas Infernum and Magical Blush. Especially Magical Blush, Janet, I need you to download the demo for this game. This is going to be all you. Like, I feel like I kept playing it way longer than I intended to. Very magical girl, transformation magic kind of feel to it. So good. It's got secrets in the like baked into the game design, which I love so much. Very interesting premise. Everybody go check this out if you can. Canvas Infernum is the second game there. It's kind of like Dorf Romantique, but in hell. So like you've stepped into like a Hieronymus Bosch painting.
Yeah.
And you are placing tiles, and you have to connect tiles to other tiles. So if one tile has like mountains, you have to connect to that. Depending on how you connect them, you're getting points. As you connect out, you can connect out to like hellish beings, which will give you some kind of bonus. Maybe they'll give you like a wild card where you can plop into the middle of an impossible situation and it'll fit. And you're getting more points as you go through, and the whole task is just to get up to this many points, and then if you do, you go to the next, and you go to the next, and then go to the next, and it's one of those games where it's just really hard to put down, and numbers go up, very satisfying, and very beautiful to look at. I want to save one that Jenny and I both put to talk about with when Jenny gets to hers. Milky Delivery is such a special game. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait for this. It is so beautiful. It's got a lot of things to think about. I think in some of their previous games, Kabuto Park comes to mind. It's fun, but it doesn't have a lot going for it. I think Milky has a lot more for my brain to kind of tick through, to keep me interested. And then Little Lands absolutely blew me away with what it is doing and what it is actually going to be. I don't want to tell anybody anything more about that. Just go play Little Lands. But yeah, Jenny, tell me about your Steam Next Fest experience.
I am still going through. Let me look actually. How many demos do I still have?
Oh, I started out with 100, so I'm
Yeah,
not gonna get there.
I was over 100. I'm now at 82, so
You got
left
this.
that I'm hoping to try and like just cram in as much as I can.
As much as I've put more demos on your list too.
Yeah. I think I won't go through every single demo, but some of the ones that have remained memorable to me through all of the playthroughs. I do want to shout out Little Lands. That one's so cute, but I've mentioned that one before. Slime Soup was one that I stumbled upon that I had never heard of before. This is like match three. Let's see. Match three meets sort of like a run-based format, where you are basically concocting a soup for goblins and other sort of magical dungeon creatures that come towards your cauldron. What I really liked is that each creature will bring sometimes buckets of food that you can add or not to the cauldron to help either potentially allow you to create larger combos when you match the different colors, or maybe add different buffs or debuffs. And this was just like a really fun, my kind of puzzle game where number does go up, matches are made, explosions happen that sort of make your brain happy. And this was just also a fun setting where you're just in this kind of like grimy dungeon with goblins and things. So very, very cute. I very much liked it. In a similar vein, Pandemonium Merge. If you remember Suika game or the fruit watermelon merge game that was super popular a few years ago, this is another take on that, where instead of having a 2D sort of top down, almost like Tetris sort of board that we're familiar with, you are actually throwing food into a pan on a campfire. And so I feel like it's a little bit easier than Suika. I feel like the demo, the ultimate item you're going for is like a roast chicken. I was able to get 2 roast chickens in the pan on my first run, so it feels like there's not as much potential growth, but I think they have some different modes that weren't in the demo that are going to be in the full release that I think could be interesting to play, including like day and time passing and like different people coming across your campsite. So I think that might add a level of mechanical interest to it, that the demo currently doesn't have, but that one's really cute. The Sorting Bureau, a lot of these are very like puzzly, satisfying games. The
Says
Sorting
Jenny,
Bureau,
just noticing the pattern.
yeah, I know. I'm like, these are the ones that have stood out to me currently. I still have a bunch more to play though. The Sorting Bureau is. This is gonna sound not complimentary. I did have fun playing it. It's like a little to the left if it wasn't about puzzles, it was just about sorting items into like boxes. I find that really enjoyable, although I do think the demo is slow to build on maybe the complexities. Basically, you're just getting piles of items and helping people sort them into the boxes that they're supposed to go. And it sounds so boring, but I found it mentally very satisfying. So there's that. So it's like if you liked a little to the left, but you wish there wasn't like the puzzle element, like trying to figure out the pattern, this is for you, basically. Cozy Game Restoration. This is one I've been very much looking forward to play. It is essentially a cleaning game with no story. You are just purchasing different cartridges, opening the boxes, cleaning the cartridges, and putting them up on your wall to admire. And the key to this is that the lighting is beautiful. The fidelity is just the polish just looks like if you've played Hosey, that level of sort of polish in terms of the render of the 3D models, like it very much feels like that. I feel like The last 1% of the cleaning that you do in this game is actually quite hard.
Hmm.
Like, I was not able to get, and I was also trying to barrel through a bunch of demos, but I wasn't able to get a single cartridge to 100%. To be honest, I got to 99, and then all the little details were so tiny. I was like, this is a little unsatisfying that I can't get to 100, but I want to move on. But I love discovering like there was dupes for Super Mario World. There was a dupe for Harvest Moon 64. And so it was fun to just like play and remember games and like have that sense of nostalgia. So that's for fans of cleaning games. Tom 2,
Of course. Yeah.
honestly, if you love Toem, which is a like very short, sweet, photography based kind of game, Toem 2, hands down, it's a demo you should play. You must play. It's very, very cute. I have no notes. That was just such an enjoyable time. Uh, I'll skip Lily's World because I think you have it
Yeah,
as
we're going to
well.
talk about
So
that.
we're
We're
going to
going
talk
to talk
about
about
that.
that.
And I wanted to shout out Truth Scrapper, which is by the developer who made In Stars and Time, one of my all-time favorite games. Truth Scrapper is a visual novel where you play a character who doesn't remember things past one day, and you have to choose what memories you carry with you and journal to carry into your next days as you're trying to solve a mystery that's happening in this town. I love it. The demo was very short, sweet. You kind of just get the premise, and you meet the characters, and that's it. I'm already sold, so I'm in. And Penguin Colony, which was a part of the Story Rich Showcase, the first annual Fellow Traveler Story Rich Showcase, is a Lovecraftian narrative game made by the devs who did Umurangi Generation, which
Hmm.
is incredible and everyone should play. It's like a photography game that takes place during the Australian wildfires a few years ago. But this game is a Lovecraftian horror adventure set in the Arctic, through the eyes of a penguin.
Yep.
and
It's so good.
and it's a bit of a slow burn, I will say, but I really enjoyed it and I'm excited to see what the full game has in store. Um, so I'll stop there. Again, many more demos. I'm going to try to somehow consolidate this in some social post, an article, something, but that's just the top level of things that have stuck with me. Lily's World, though.
Lily's World. Let's talk about
Lily's
Lily's
World.
World.
Ooh, so good. So
Yeah.
much fun.
So I actually met the developer for Lily's World at Summer Game Fest, and she's the
Yeah.
most delightful human being. You would never expect this game from her. I was playing this morning, just catching up on everything. For anyone who hasn't seen this game before, the pitch I've sort of landed on is kind of like Emily is Away, but spooky. Um, so when I was playing this game, um, a pop up, Janet was talking to me on Discord, and a pop up showed up in the game because I was on a simulated computer in the game, clicking through things, solving puzzles, figuring out what's going on with Lily. Um, and Janet's pop up popped up in the game while I was playing, and I thought it was part of the game. I was like, "What does this solve? Oh my gosh, how does it know?" Because the game is one of those spooky games where it knows more about you than it should. You start out as the player character, and the player character is named after you. So they called it Jill, and I was like, I don't like this already. And the basic idea here is you have, I think you've moved recently, and you're dumpster diving for all your stuff. While you're dumpster diving, you pick up a computer that's like old, but it still works, and a the person who had it before you was a Lily, and she's still like all of her stuff is there, all of her like messaging, and she's signed into like profiles, like, and it's all like in the 2000s, early 2000s, so it's very like nostalgic feeling about, yeah, this is how I wrote when I was 16. I remember this. Yeah, this is the time period. You very quickly learn from, of course, I'm snooping through all of Lily's like emails and stuff. Lily is deeply un unconfident in herself. She is not confident. She doesn't believe that she's pretty. She believes that she needs to be losing weight. Like, there's a lot of really concerning things about how she feels about herself. She's starting to like this boy. There are things that are happening. Her best friend Iris is like pumping her up all the time, and then she starts mentioning a therapist, who then we find out is connected to something called like the Radiant Light, if I remember the name correctly.
Radiant Path.
Radiant Path.
Yeah.
And you learn more about what the Radiant Path is, and it doesn't sound great. And you hear things that are happening in her home life that are not great. And she starts disconnecting from her BFF Iris, and getting disconnected from things in the real world, and things are starting to get a lot creepier as things go on. And then Janet pops up, and you're like, what does Janet have to do with this? But it is so worth exploring this game and seeing what's happening. I really love, so far the puzzles have been really fun and fulfilling to figure out, because you're kind of like, oh, I remember that thing that I looked at before, and oh, I remember her talking about her cat, and I had already done the mental math on that cat, so I don't even have to go back and look. And it's really, really compelling, and it gets creepy because it feels so relatable, and you kind of forget that it's creepy until it becomes creepy again. I don't know if you felt the same way, Jenny, but go ahead and let me know.
Yeah, I really love this one. And for me, I loved the blend of the building suspense through sifting through all of the dialogue, or not the dialogue, the text chats, the journal entries, and like feeling the sense of dread as you're realizing sort of what this game is building to. But there were a couple of real solid jump scares where I was recording this and I just like straight up I screamed. It was just, it was so much fun. And it was just enough where I don't think the game overly leaned on the jump scares in a way that made me feel like it cheapened the experience. Because normally I'm not usually a fan. But it was just enough where I was in it. And I love that this did feel very much like I could have known this girl, you know, when I was in middle school or high school. I felt like there were elements where I was like, man, this was a lot of what I would write or say to a friend, or how we would sort of gossip with one another about a crush. And so I think the writing just felt very real in a lot of ways. And I appreciated that a lot too, which you mentioned. And yeah, the puzzles were really fun. I think everything felt very intuitive. It didn't feel like, sometimes with sort of the lost media found OS, you know, that kind of genre, I worry about having to sift through so much content and it becomes a bit overwhelming. And the way that this demo at least was scaffolded, I never felt totally overwhelmed by the information presented. And I felt like it opened up gradually enough where I could explore something thoroughly, get familiar with it, and then move on to the next thing. And that for me felt really nice, because I've played games before like this where I just almost, my brain turns off a little bit because I'm like, okay, there's just too much information and it feels a little bit too much like actually working. And I just want to play a game.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is great though.
The other thing that I really want to shout out is there is an icon at the bottom that says notes, and it's like a little notepad. And I thought, oh, this is going to be a cool part of the game. There's no notes in there already. It's literally for the player to take notes. So I was just like typing along. Oh, this is saving. Oh, okay. So you can see like my internal dialogue of discovering what the notes is. And so that's just going to keep filling up, instead of having to like write separately or like have another screen open while I'm playing this, to just have like a note taker in the game where you're gonna need notes is really, really fun and thoughtful in a way that I think talks a lot about how this game is designed. So yeah, this is high up on the list if you have not checked this out already. Go play Lily's World XD, y'all. I don't think it's too scary for anybody who's like a coward like me. It's not gonna like freak you out so bad, but oh my gosh. I think that was it for Steam Next Fest, but of course there are still a lot of demos out there that are still up and you can go check them out. So please do if you have not already.
That's me. I'll go. I'll be good.
We're adding things for
I'll
you,
check
Janet.
out the demos.
It's gonna be
yes,
good.
thank you for carrying my demos for me.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Of course, the big news this week we have to talk about is the Steam Machine cost reveal. And I feel like we pretty much nailed it in our last episode talking about where things might be going because of price increases. So we are 1000K plus for the even the most basic Steam machine with no controller. I think it's like 1050 essentially, and heading up to about 1200. I think was the top one, somewhere in the
No, the
1200s.
top one is like 1500.
Yeah.
Never mind.
The range is 1049 to 1428.
Yeah,
With it
and
being 512 gigabytes, no controller, 512 gigs with controller, 2 terabytes, and then 2 terabytes with controller. So those are the 4 versions.
it's wild. We did such a good job. Go back and watch the episode. I feel like I want to say, hey, we'll clip it and put it in here, but I don't think I'm gonna put all that effort into it. Go back and watch, because yeah, that's where we are. And I feel like Jenny, you're saying in the doc, and I think what most people are saying is like that's not surprising because of where we are with tariffs and technology and AI screwing everything up and stealing RAM from everyone. It's not surprising, but like it is in the fact that like consoles just don't work this way. Like, and the fact that this was going to be an indie machine for so much of us. Do you buy this or a tower, like a PC for yourself? That's my question. So, Jenny,
The
what are
PC
you
is
thinking
not going
about
to be
this?
cheaper.
I mean, I know,
the
but it's
thing.
like, why not get the full thing? Is sort of my thought of like,
Well, it's the classic. If I'm spending $1,500, what if I spent 3,000? You know, like, I don't know. I guess we've all been there, but yeah.
Love to see comparisons because I know, and I am not like a hardware person. So if anyone listening is like, actually, please let us know because I'm not 100% sure. But I feel like there's like the mini PCs that have like either the same or maybe only slightly less, like instead of 1 terabyte, maybe it's got, whatever, 512 or something. But I would love to see a comparison between some of the mini PCs that exist, because that is probably the most direct comp, where it's like you could get a desktop tower, but those can range pretty expensive. And I can see how from conversations I've had with folks about this, like there is this intimidation, like if you're not a PC person and you don't want to like worry about a build or have to worry about updating it in the future and you just want like a machine that has what you want it to have, I can see the convenience in the Steam machine, but I'm like, man, I'm really curious if there are mini PCs out there that could be comparable that are less like small form factor, less intimidating, cheaper
or even like a gamer laptop too.
Yeah.
Goes in this is in
You
this
hook
category.
up to your TV. But I was surprised, honestly, in talking with like my Discord community, especially. There were more people who were like, "No, I actually this is appealing to me," and so I think this is one of those things where, for me as a person who has a desktop that can run like most what I want it to run, I have a PlayStation. I have the consoles already. This does not feel like a good purchase or fit for me because I already have my needs met through all of these other things. But for people who don't have the desktop and don't necessarily want that, I think I'm seeing more people communicate like this is something that they're actually still interested in, even with the price being what it is, and the tech not being like the most advanced, tech within this machine. So, yeah.
Janet, what
Still
are
a
you
very
thinking about
pleasing
it?
shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the same stuff, it's a lot of money, but everything's a lot of money now in the tech space. It's hard to get this kind of like form factor and ease of use into something, because like, sure, like there are mini PCs, but then it's like, again, kind of what you already brought up, Jenny, like then the onus is still kind of on you to make sure like what's going on with it. And I think it's interesting because there are many markets for the Steam machine and they all have different things that they're interested in, and there's some overlap, but there isn't for other cases. So like I'm bringing this up because I know like some people are like, oh, this is, the freedom of the PC ecosystem, and like, once Linux gets mentioned, I'm out. I don't know what's going on with Linux. And at this point I'm afraid to ask. Like, that's me and my vibe, because I am a console gamer at heart, which is like I just have my little set of stuff and I plug it in and then I go. I'm not looking for freedom. I have a PC because I want to play all the different games that I can, and I also want to like do things like streaming, which requires a strong, but like there's benefits to having a PC if you are doing, obviously working in our space, whether it's access to games or like content creation stuff. But yeah, like as a console gamer at heart, it is still an appealing machine to me. Price wise, I would never be able to I would not choose to buy this. I just have other things I want to do financially. I've been working on paying off my student loans. It's going all right. I'm like, damn, maybe I could have done this earlier, but we can't go back in time. I don't have a time machine. I don't have a steam machine. So, so for that reason, I wouldn't be able to justify it, only because Jenny, like you, I'm in and Jill, I imagine you're the same, video game rich over here, basically. We're the bourgeoisie, when it's time to eat the gamer rich, like, we have to lock our doors because, like, I have a PC, I have a Steam Deck, I have still my old consoles from when I was a kid, I have 2 PSPs, I have an AYN, like people, like, the Rob list is long. Like, I sleep with my windows shut because I have a lot of technology in here. I might be able to get one through MinMax. I know we're trying to secure a couple, like, for us to do, like, coverage on it and to use it. And I'm not going to lie, I'm sure that'll be, like, super exciting to have. Obviously, I'll report back if I end up getting one. It's also a thing, it's still hard to get. They, like, didn't have that, like, they're doing, like, a sign up and we'll let you know. But it's like, I don't know what SKU that's going to be. I don't know how much they're going to have. And this is a tough spot for everyone to be in, because this is another case of, well, if you're thinking about buying it, and I don't want to like freak people out, but it is that thing of, if you can manage to afford it, like, I do think people will probably do it simply out of fear of it costing more later. Like, we've seen the price of the Steam Deck go up. We've seen the price of the PS5 go up, like, that used to be so much more attainable than it is now. I feel like I have like a gold PS5. Like, I don't even have a Pro, I just have a regular one. But I feel like that thing is like, in my head, it's worth $1 million, which it is not, but I'm just like, oh my God, like, this is so much money now. It just kind of puts it in a different bucket. But yeah, like, the thought of being able to just like, I'm playing my like indie games on like my TV easily, because you can also do that. Like, you can have, like, I have Steam Machine at home, just using your Steam Deck and plugging it in. That's like another more affordable option, I think, for people. Pair that with the Steam controller. It's, if you close your eyes, almost like you got the Steam Machine. So there are definitely many solutions. But yeah, it would be great if it cost less. I hope one day that things become more affordable again, and then things will cost a little bit less. But I don't know. We can't count on that day coming. We have the day that we have now. So, like a weird reveal, because it is like I'm not surprised and I'm not disappointed, but I don't want to give you $1,500. It's like, like, that's kind of what it is, at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I don't know what I would say. I do have people near me who like indie games, who would like to continue exploring indie games, and want to know what path would be best for them. Like, would the investment in the Steam Machine be worth it overall? Would they be better off, like I said, getting a gaming laptop? Would they be better off getting just the Steam Deck? Would they be better off getting, like, maybe just a Switch too? Maybe just another console, maybe getting a moderately priced PC, if such a thing exists anymore.
She's gone, Jill. There's no moderately priced PC.
Yeah, I think that is such a hard question to answer right now, especially if you're interested in like Fields of Mystery is coming out in a time where prices are not going to go down in the next couple of months. It is not going to go down probably for the holidays, when I'm going to get more asks about what you recommend. So, like in general, the PC space is usually the indie space in broad terms. So like where you get access to that and how much you want to pay for access to these games, which are going to be cheap. Like the games are generally cheaper, but like if you get into this ecosystem with all the prices included, like what do you really want to recommend to people right now? And that's really hard to be like, go ahead and drop $1,000 on nothing or the lowest version of this, and you also have to get a controller on top of that. Or do I think that this is going to be a quality or more quality than this situation? You know, like it's at the very least, if I tell someone, hey, go out and get a PC, maybe it'll cost more, but it's like, and it will run everything for your normal life, you know.
Right, like you can double dip.
Yeah.
I think it depends. What I would say to people, because I feel like if people are asking if they should get it, they probably can to some degree afford it, or they've just decided they're going to pay for it. Because also, again, respectfully, none of my business. Like, what, you know, I wouldn't recommend you after paying anything, but like that's how some people live, and that's their prerogative. I think it depends on what experience you want. Where it's like it. And I, you know, none of us have played the Steam machine yet, so we can't speak to like how it runs, how it feels, like what it's like to live with. The reviews have generally been like positive on it, so I do tend to trust that it works, you know, and it's just Steam. If you want that console experience, that console feel with like the PC access, the Steam machine probably is like a good bet. But if you're like, I don't care about being in my living room, and I like want to just get, but I feel like you'll know if you wanted a gaming PC, you know, kind of thing. And then it's like if you also want access to like the Nintendo stuff, that's when I bring in like the Switch 2 element, where it's like, do you want to play, you know, you really want to play Procopia and, you know, like other indie titles. I forget, Fields of Mystria is just PC, correct?
Yeah, I think did they say they're coming to Switch? But it's like after.
Yeah, I'm
they
sure
haven't
one day
announced a
they're
date.
talking,
you know,
things. Yeah,
it's like eventually like the bigger indie, not even bigger, but like definitely the bigger indies come to console, and like a lot of indies eventually come to console. So it's like you could do that, but then you'll be late, you know. Or do you really value being handheld? Then I would say get the Steam Deck. And if you're longing for like that TV-ness, I would just invest in that little like dock thing they have. Maybe pair that with a Steam controller. Again, Steam machine dupe, like kind of a lot of the same sort of stuff. So I think it's an interesting space because it really depends on what experience. Like, there's now 3 ways to have a PC indie experience. 4 if you count, I guess, the laptop situation that you brought up, Jill, which is like, that's a lot of options, and a lot of different price points and a lot of different utility.
What's wild to me, because I just re-looked up the updated price for the Steam Deck, and it's like there are different price points, but like between the Steam Deck and the Steam Machine, what is it? The Steam Machine is at the base, you know, 1050,
something like that. Yeah,
1050. Like the 1 terabyte OLED, which is relatively equivalent, is 949 USD, and I'm like, 949 to like 1050. That's money, and that is a difference. But if you're buying, it's both essentially, it's the agro crab math, right? It's like both are kind of basically $1,000. So it's interesting that the Steam machine and the Steam Deck are at 1 terabyte at least, really just about the experience you're looking for rather than necessarily the power in the machine, I would imagine. But yeah, again, I haven't played, so I can't compare the play experience.
Good luck all who are trying to play their indies on a new machine. We have guided you as far as we can. I love my machines. Very quickly, I want to run through some important dates since we are coming to you once a month now, just to keep on top of things that are happening. Something very exciting is happening right now. Deltarune Chapter 5, it's out, y'all. You can go play it. Go enjoy. You've still got, as Jenny told us, confirmed 2 more chapters to go, but Chapter 5 is out. How are you feeling, Jenny?
I am so excited. I just brought up my Switch because it's been here at my desk all day, and you can see I'm ready. Like as soon as this podcast is done, I am, for folks who are watching the video, I'm
Nice.
holding up my Switch. It says chapter 4 was completed, play chapter 5. And so I'm going to be in it. I will not be reachable for the next, I don't know, 8 hours. Who knows how long the chapter will be. So yeah, I'm stoked.
Yeah. Anytime you see Jenny looking down, that's what's happening.
Just checking on Deltarune.
And then also happening right now is the Steam Summer Sale has begun. So hopefully if you're not spending all your money on different types of ways to get to indies, you'll be checking out all the indie sales, which are hopefully good. We got a huge announcement at the end of Summer Game Fest, which I was waiting for during the show proper, but Scarlet Deer Inn is coming out July 21st. So excited for that team, so excited for that game. Also, equally exciting right around that week, it's Jenny's birthday. And you all have to play, July 25th, you'll have to play an indie game to celebrate.
Jenny, what indie game, if you could make all the world play an indie game? I guess don't think about it that deep, like, because I don't want you to be like, oh, it has to be socially impactful so that they can change minds or whatever.
Literally, I was like, Deltarune. But if you haven't played Deltarune, play Undertale, I guess, because you need to play Undertale to understand Deltarune.
Okay, that's all we're doing July 25th. Is Deltarune and Undertale.
Time to move up chapter 2 finally.
Let's go.
Woo! We got another really exciting announcement. July 29th is Truckun is supporting me from another world. Exclamation mark, question mark. And then news that has come out as of today, so that I won't be breaking embargo. Enshrouded is coming out fully. Its 1.0 release is going to be October 15th, and I'm sure there's going to be nothing else on my plate. October 15th, nothing else is happening. Everything is off the calendar so that I can play Enshrouded and live in my own little world. And I'm going to love it so much. I'm so excited. We are entering into the last phase of this June episode. Let's talk about games we've been playing. I think there's been a lot of we've been at Summer Game Fest, we've been playing Steam Next Fest, so I don't know, I don't have a lot to talk about, but Curse Mark, which I've talked about before, is out in early access and I really love it. I am also entering into Mole, which is like the kind of mouth-washing feeling game, but instead of in space, you're digging underground and bad things are happening.
I didn't realize that was out.
It is out. Yeah, go play that. And then my official list for catching up now that Steam Summer Game Fest is over and Steam Next Fest is over. Dreadfields, Letter Lost, Esoteric Ebb, Dark Scrolls, Forbidden Solitaire. Probably also Karen is on that list somewhere. But Janet, what are you into?
Yeah, we'll go most to least amount play. That might not be right. We'll go in the order I wrote them. Tethergeist, I finally got around to that. It came out in May. I forget offhand if you guys play. I know we've all talked about it. Have you played the full build?
I haven't played. I haven't finished it.
I haven't
Maybe
played
that's
the
another
full
game.
build.
Okay.
Yeah, just
okay,
the demo.
cool. Kind of like we're in like cousin spots then almost.
Yeah.
I had played the demo packs that all of you guys played, liked it, and then just kind of like hadn't quite made time for it. There also wasn't like, I don't know, nothing was really pushing me into it yet, but I had been thinking about it for a long time. Love platformers, and I'm like, yeah, like, why haven't I played this? It's supposedly good. I liked what I played. Let's go play this. So when I sat down to stream a new game, I had this moved up to the top of my list. Yeah, I like it a lot. I think it's really fun, really engaging, and really like unique as well. So for those who don't know, this is a little funky because the Steam description is that it's a precision platformer, and I know why they say that, but I would say that this game is a lot more of like a puzzle platformer than a precision platformer, which is not like a negative. Like, I think that's what it aims to do, and it does so really successfully. A lot of comparisons have been drawn to Celeste for this game because of the art style, and other aspects. It shares some of the design, like underlying structures. Like they have their own version of like the strawberries with like the red flowers that you like can optionally collect. There's like this story that kind of feels like, oh, it's emotional and like we're growing and you know, we're gonna like overcome things. It kind of has like that element. It has like, you come across an NPC and they're like sitting by a fire that's like, this feels like the one from Celeste. So it has like those kind of obvious touch points, but it's a very different game in that this is not a like jump, zip, nonstop, hyper dexterity, sweaty kind of game. It is difficult. Like, I do not want to undersell the difficulty. You will be dying a lot, and it is a challenging game. But it is much more about, like, thinking through what you want to do and kind of, like, being meticulous and being thoughtful in what you're doing. The big mechanical element, as the name alludes, is that you have this tether. So, essentially, like, you can astral project, and there's, like, a dotted line that shows, like, the space between you and the projection, and then you zoop to that projected spot. That's how you get through, like, you know, spikes and other obstacles. As the game progresses, there's like additional mechanics that get introduced, like bouncing off of certain mushrooms, and like the ways that you can do all your abilities are based on kind of like pickups that sort of represent that, you know, a lot of games have the like, you can jump and dash but only like once before you touch your ground. You know, it's a very like common thing. They have that, but kind of represented by like a physical object and like kind of visual UI pip. And it's really fun. It's really enjoyable. It's very satisfying. I think the only real dings I have on it is sometimes I feel like the story, because it's kind of meant to be like this feel good coming of age, like accept yourself, but also like branch out, but also whatever. I feel like sometimes they kind of, they're not like, that hasn't been a super strong aspect like writing wise, but where I do think they shine is the kind of like coming across different like villages as you're exploring, and those having like their own like personalities and being funny and strange. And I'm like, oh, see, this feels like you're doing your own thing and kind of like have your own sauce to like the narrative. So I like that element quite a bit. And then my only other ding is the levels are too long. It doesn't make the game necessarily, I guess it totally makes it worse, but it's not that big of a deal because the levels are good, they're well designed and stuff. But like, you'll be playing and you're like, wait, am I still in this level? And yes, the answer is always like, I just wish they were just sort of cut, like, and literally just like put like an endpoint and restart. And they're long by way of like that optional collectible I mentioned, like the red flowers. There's like a level early on where they're like, there are 28 of these to collect. Flag on the play. There should max be 8 to 12 of any collectible, unless it's like coins, which like it's like that's too many. Like it's just a really long amount of time where I feel like it just would have made more sense to be a little bit shorter, so that you're kind of like, I don't know, having more of like a progressive feel, but also like having more of a sense of like what's going on. The only logic I can give to why they did that is that like, well, it's one kind of environmental space and we wanted to have all these different like things in one space, but I don't know. I just wish they did it like differently, because it ends up feeling like a little strange. But other than that, really loving my time with it. I'm 3 hours in. It's supposedly like an 8-hour game. Also worried that might be a little longer than it needs to be, but frankly, the 3 hours kind of flew by. So this is a game I'm like very, very eager to get back to. The only thing stopping me is other work I'm doing. But the second that's done, I want more, because it's been a real delight. So check it out. Don't be afraid if you're not a platformer person. If you like platform puzzles, because that's more of the flavor it is.
Puzzle, yeah.
Yeah.
Jana, you want to go ahead and finish with your whole?
Yeah, just down the line.
Yeah.
Cleaning up. Cute game. Simple. It's a bit on that basic end, but I have enjoyed my time with it, and I feel like that's not nothing. So cleaning up is it's just a cleaning game. You're kind of going around. It has like this narrative wrapper of like, you work for this company and there's like this app, but like, no, that really matters. You kind of just go from place to place and can clean up with various tools. You start with a vacuum, you get like a mop, you get like a hose, and it's just like a chill time that has really satisfying sound design. Like the way the assets like schlup into the vacuum and like kind of almost have like this like pitter patter noise, I think is really fun. It controls well. It's cute looking. My only real ding here is just that it's a bit simplistic, you know? Like I wish they kind of did a little bit more, because they gesture towards some extra ideas with like optional objectives they have, but then they kind of are like, and this one doesn't really have that, and it's like, like I kind of wish you like did a little bit more with the core idea. But thing controls well. If you like cleaning up games, if you like to clean in games, I think you'll probably enjoy this, even if you are like maybe wanting a bit more from it. But this is another one that I'm eager to go back to. I streamed it, and it's also a really quick. It's opposite of Tether Guys. The levels are really quick. So like I'll even do this during like a Pomodoro break and be like, let me just jump in and do a level, and it's like nice and satisfying to do. A good like side game or before bed game, or just like a short cleaning game. And then my last one is Dark Scrolls, which I played on stream with Patrick Klepek of Remap. This one did not work out for me. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. It's just kind of my big beef with this game, and there honestly are several, is probably like the way they roll out progression. So it's a action roguelike, but they kind of do a lot of weird things with like the abilities to me. Like I give them points for like the creativity aspect of it. Like they have a unique ability system, but I don't think it serves the game very well. So essentially you do like damage and then you rack up like stars, and you can get up to 5 stars. 5 stars you can do like your ultimate move. And then as you're like going through the level, there's like a shop in each level, and then you can buy like an upgrade that you attach to one of the stars. This means that when you are at 0 stars, like if you put like fire on 0, that means when you're at 0, your attacks will have fire. When you move to 1, you'll like have something else, etc. Now, nothing is wrong with that, but there's like where it kind of ends up stumbling is I had to learn this all through like kind of guessing. This game does not explain anything. So it took us a really long time to even figure out what was going on. Okay, cool. Once we figured that out, game definitely got better because we could engage with the systems more, but it kind of ended up being this weird feeling of like everything kind of would leave you too quick, and also you got stuff too slowly. So it's like, okay, I finally got the fire thing. I'm going to put that on star 3. I'm on star 3, I'm imbuing fire. Okay, now we're done because we're on star 4. It's like, okay, and then I think it's also a strange structure because it kind of ends up de-incentivizing the continual movement of the stars, but that's kind of like inherent to the game because you have to be like attacking enemies to like live. So It just feels like a lot of, at least from my perception, like design missteps that end up like leaving me with just like, I'm not enjoying my time with this. Like I'm not having, it's a little too, then a bunch of other weird stuff where it's like, it's really heavy on like the collisions with like you and like the other people you're playing with, which can be like fun and like haha, but also I'm like, you kind of put a lot of assets and enemy spawn points, so I kind of need to like lock in, but you kind of haven't given me a good way to lock in. And then honestly I could go on for a while on the things I didn't like about it, which I know sounds really bad and maybe kind of is, but yeah, it just did not end up working for me. And there's the fact that I have so many things to point to as well, I think is indicative of a lot of, again, at least from my perception, like missteps in this. But yeah, so I will not be returning to Dark Scrolls, unfortunately. Despite the developers doing soft, they've done a lot of cool stuff. I've never gotten around to their projects, but I know people love, Gato Roboto and a lot of their other projects. So yeah, I don't know. This was a little bit of a surprise that it didn't quite work, but it happens.
We'll see if they update anything based on feedback, because I've been hearing that a lot. Jenny, speaking of a lot of things that you might be going back to, tell me what you've been playing.
Yeah, so I have mentioned Forbidden Solitaire a couple of times, and over all of my travels, I finished it. For folks, if you need a reminder or you hadn't heard before, Forbidden Solitaire is this like, it's a solitaire game. At the end of the day, the meta story around it is you're playing a found disc of an old dungeon crawling solitaire game that is cursed, and you're sort of unraveling the mystery of this curse and getting embroiled in the dark forces that have inhabited it. And I honestly just loved this game. The mechanics, I think it did get a little repetitive in the sense that the formula is the formula. You basically progress in the dungeon, you see one of two types of encounters. You have the battles where you are playing essentially to create combos that reduce the HP of the creatures that you're facing in the dungeon, or you're solving puzzles, which is more of a traditional clear the board for solitaire. And beyond that, the story will progress, but the mechanics don't necessarily do much other than maybe you gain jewels that kind of imbue you with more HP or different sort of buffs. But it's not complex, but it is just a really fun version of solitaire in a story that I thought was just really interesting. And I liked it and I would highly recommend it. This was honestly perfect for traveling because I could just hop in, play a couple of different solitaire matches, progress a little bit in the dungeon, and then peace out. And it's interesting because this developer did a talk, I think at the last GDC, that I need to go listen to. But he did a talk about how you can survive as a developer in this industry for like 11 years without a viral hit, which I find really compelling and really interesting, especially as we've talked before in this podcast about sustainability within this industry and what does it look like when you don't make a Fields of Mystria that like absolutely blows up, or a Cult of the Lamb that like suddenly funds the rest of your studio for forever. And so that on sort of the back end development side, I find that really intriguing, and that this is the effort of this developer combining forces with another team to make this game in particular. But this dev, he has a bunch of solitaire games. And so now I'm actually going to probably go and pick a few, like just to dive into and play a bit more. But I think Regency Solitaire was one that I had seen before and not picked up. And yeah, so I have this new subgenre that I'm interested in now, which is solitaire games.
Solitaire's where it's at, y'all.
Yeah, it's great. Four Leaf Fields, which is a farming and life sim that is set in sort of a Thumbelina inspired world where you are a very, very tiny human, I guess, human or fairy creature in a giant sized, you're Thumbelina. So everything is big compared to you. This is a premise that honestly I feel a little envious, because I had a long time ago said this is like the game I would love to make if I had the skills and talent and money. Never did. And so I'm a little envious that they got to it first, but also very happy because that means I can just enjoy it and not worry about making it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a playtest, so it is a little bit rough. You can play just the first 14 in-game days. The two areas that you can explore are the town and your farm. The mines are a work in progress, like a bunch of areas are not accessible. You can tell that they haven't really implemented, like the dialogue isn't super polished. It's early, but as a playtest, going into the basic mechanics of how does it feel to do your farming, planting things, watering things, how does it feel to run around, to talk to people, really interesting. I've only played 5 days within the playtest, so I'll probably report back next month with like the final sort of full experience. But there's a gossip system that I find really intriguing, and I'm honestly kind of curious to understand like how potentially mean or dark this gossip system could get, because I could see it going potentially, like some of the characters in this game do have a little bit of more of a bite to them, or don't seem as like just sweet, there's a little bit more that I think is maybe under the hood. So I'm interested to see how the writing turns out. But I think the playtest for now, it's mostly just, does it feel good? Yes. Does it look cute? Yes. So really it's just to see like how much lore are they inputting into this playtest, and how much lore are they anticipating for maybe like a beta or a demo build later. But it's very cute. And then let's see. Just really quickly, I talked about Don't Let It Starve already. This is the dark bento bento making hostage game. I only started it. It's fun. It's like, I love bento box puzzles where it's like you have these different food items, you're trying to Tetris them into a bento box confined space. If you play Consume Me, it's very reminiscent of the food, Tetris in that game as well. The trick is you're trying to reach a certain score level for your food, and you're using the buffs to try and get there, because you only have a certain amount of space. So you need to like mathematically sort of figure out the right combination of things. I'm having a great time. Will it last for the duration of the entire game? I don't know, but for now, I'm having a blast. I love how dark it is, and that it's bento, so it's just like a fun combination. I've been replaying Sayonara Wild Hearts simply because for Geeks and
Yeah.
Grounds, that was our game
Cheers,
this
yeah.
month. God, I forgot how good that game is. So if you have not played Sayonara Wild Hearts, this is your chance. This is your reminder. Go play it. It takes an hour tops, and it is like such a surreal, just like sensory overload of playing an album and like experiencing it in this like very tangible way that just, God, it's beautiful.
I
That
went back to that
soundtrack.
album when I saw
Yeah.
that it was on your list, like literally today, and it was magical. It's genuinely like there's a lot of albums I like, so I don't want to oversell. Like, oh, it's one of my
Yeah.
favorites because like, well, there's like like I listen to music all the time, like non-stop. I love that album though. Still, it's genuinely really good, and I think about that game a lot for being like a really good version of something really specific. I feel like I've played other games that are like, it's music and you're like, going through it. It's like nothing hits like Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, I had forgotten how good it was, and playing it, I was just like, why aren't we talking about this game more? Like, we should still be talking about this game and telling people about it. And then what came out just actually today, as of this recording day, Deer and Boy just released. I played it. It's a nice and short game. It's like 4 hours, which I love. Like any game that's sub 8 hours has a special place in my heart. This is a game for you if you love that sort of cinematic puzzle platformer. I would say a la like Limbo or I guess I'm forgetting now.
Like Inside was one
Inside,
that kind of being
yeah.
called out. Yeah.
And it's like not as dark as those. I think what I found really interesting is that so you play a boy who has run away from home, and he has this magical deer that's his friend, and you go on this journey with them. And what I found really fun was being able to allow the deer to interact with the puzzles and solve them with you. And as the game progresses, and you see this in the trailer, so I'm not like spoiling anything that hasn't been talked about in PR, but the deer also ages. And so I loved the layer of as you age, the deer ages, and you start interacting with puzzles a little differently. So it added just a little bit more interest kind of for me as a player. I think it's a beautiful, solid experience. I don't think it for me was like, go out, buy this now. This has changed my life. But I think I really like this kind of surreal, magical, emotional journey. And I think if you like that kind of journey, Planet of Lana honestly is a great other comp. This is I think less mechanically or puzzle intense than Planet of Lana personally. This is a really solid game. So it's beautiful. The music is lovely. The art, yeah, it's just a great solid experience. So I would recommend it.
Gotta go check that out. I haven't finished it, but I do want to get to it, and it is a fairly short game. But we've got so many games to play, including everything y'all, every time we talk, I've got more things I gotta play. So go do that, y'all. I think that makes it the end of this week's council. Nice and meaty one for you.
This month's
This month's council. I need to change that, yeah. It could be this week's council too. It could be today's council. It could be any council.
technically,
you want.
yes, you're technically correct.
Which is the kind of correct I like to be. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you everybody on the council. Thank you so much for sitting through a 3-hour experience with us. But we had so much over the summer to tell you all about, and we're probably gonna have just as much to tell you next time. Go check us out. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The Indie Council has its own socials. Check us out on Blue Sky at theindiecouncil.com. But this session is closed. Go play some indies.